Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to GameFace, episode 335 on Sifted Games at Sifted.net. I'm Shane Satterfield, your humble host for the next couple hours of intense game discussion. And alongside me, my two co-hosts, Matt and Luna Kyle. What's up, Matt?
Well, apparently someone just used the litter box because, judging by the stench.
Oh, no.
Clean your butt.
She came and dropped the bomb just to kick off the show. Mm-hmm. She's actually not, just barely on camera.
I see a tail over here.
It's funny. She'll actually leave. Like last week, she wasn't on camera and she left. It's like she knew that she was like, I'm not getting any camera time here. I'm out. It's hilarious. Hope you guys are doing good. Hope you guys have had a good week. Hope you've been playing some great games. I know Matt and I have been. How's your week been, Matt?
It's all right. Pretty quiet.
Quiet?
Yeah. Well, there was some birthdays to deal with. That's about it.
Deal with.
I went to like 3 birthday things in one day.
Oh, wow.
And
that's insane.
A lot of March birthdays.
Yeah. February for me, for whatever reason. I'm in February, and like half of my relatives are in February.
A lot of Februarys and a lot of Junes.
Let's roll that back. 5 months. So it's like summertime. That makes
May-ish.
sense.
June is more like...
Spring has sprung.
Yeah, well, June is more like September, October.
Yeah.
Bunch of Labor Day action.
Yeah. That long weekend. No pun intended. Hope you guys are doing good. I think things are going pretty well. And it's raining here again and cold here again. Winter just won't let up here, but whatever. What else is new at this point? I'm sure at this point you guys have seen the reports from all over the place because I've got text messages from people who haven't reached out to me in like years. Who are like, what's going on out there? I'm like, who dis? I don't even know who it is.
New phone.
Yeah, exactly. Who dis? New phone. It's funny. But yeah, it's like national headlines right now. My wife's dad, who lives back in Pennsylvania, he talks about it like every day. Like, what is going on out there? Because it's like 70 degrees there today. Mm-hmm. It's like 50 here or something. It's bizarre.
It's fair. I was watching a stream from Florida, and it's like, oh my God, it's so hot today. It's like, I don't remember what that is.
Hopefully not too long. We'll get back to normal LA weather because we're paying a ton of money to live here, and we're not getting the benefits right now.
It'll be a good super bloom, though.
Yeah. That's true. And now there's like a big blob of like seaweed approaching Florida.
Bigger than the country.
Weird stuff happening right now.
That's the way. It's like it's a 5,000 mile wide blob of seaweed that's bigger than America. Mm-hmm. And it's Mike, how do you pinpoint that that's approaching Florida? Isn't that just approaching everyone?
Yeah.
Like
everyone. If it's that big, it's approaching everybody because it's getting bigger as well. It's hilarious. Let's see. A couple housekeeping things before we get going on today's show. I'd mentioned last week we're asking for questions for Ask Shane Anything very soon. That is true. That will be up tomorrow, so make sure you look for that. And please ask questions. Again, you need to pledge at $7 or more per month to ask questions, but then everybody gets to watch the show. So keep an eye out for that. Also, a couple other updates I mentioned earlier. In the year that we're going to be making some changes to GameFace and some other stuff we're doing. We're finally starting to get that in motion. We've kind of got through the hump and got into 2023. So we'll be working on some stuff like that. We'll be working on a new open for GameFace in the very near future. Matt, you'll have to be prepared for our shoots for that stuff. We're probably going to reconfigure the set a little bit in here as well to make it more palatable for us to do shorts on YouTube and also on TikTok. Although I'm really starting to wonder if TikTok's going to be around by the time we get ready to do that.
Yeah, TikTok may be a less of a bet.
Yeah, days. It really seems like it may go away in America. Do you think that's founded, Matt?
I mean, it's possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know the inside scoop on that one, but
people will freak out when they take TikTok away.
Yeah.
All the other stuff that happens, people are like, whatever. Take away their TikTok.
What will Gen Z do?
Yeah.
It's time to relaunch Vine.
Seriously, why did they get rid of Vine? That seems like the most short-sighted thing ever.
Well, Vine's problem was it was actually limited to 7 seconds.
Right.
TikTok's brilliance was like, you can make it 7 seconds, or you can make it 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like, just a quick video thing.
And it was also suggestion.
It's also the editing tools, and I mean, there's this suite of editing tools. I mean, look, there's room if TikTok is banned, there's room to move in and create a look-alike, basically.
Someone get on that right now. He may get filthy rich. Because seriously, it's like I remember when Instagram launched, I was like, what's the point of Instagram? I can post photos on Facebook just fine.
But Instagram's just photos.
Right. It's hilarious. It's just like, but we're gonna tell you that this is just for photos. And so now it's worth $5 billion. It's insane to me.
Well, now it's the same thing as Facebook.
Sense. Not only that, Matt, I hate Instagram. You can't, blow up a photo and leave it blowed up. You have to keep pinched to, it's a horrible photo app. And it's become the default. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I'll never get it. And then Facebook buys Instagram for the redundance. I just... What the hell is going on? So anyway, we may actually launch Shorts and then TikTok goes away, which would suck. The other thing too, Matt,
YouTube Shorts are more important at this point.
You think they are?
Absolutely.
Because for the long term,
and they drive traffic to the longer form sub content.
For us, it would be
more and more channels that like suddenly blow up. You're like when they do like ask Q&A stuff. The answer is always I did a YouTube short and it blew up, and all of a sudden people found the channel.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing.
Not a thing that happens on TikTok very often.
Yeah. It's hard to drive people from TikTok to somewhere else.
Well, because it's interesting how many people in that situation will also start their story with, "Oh, I was doing TikToks and it wasn't doing anything, so I just started putting the same things I put on TikTok
on YouTube Shorts, and all of a sudden I got traction."
Yeah. Utah Shorts is a very different website.
Yeah. So anyway, look for changes coming soon. All that stuff is in the works right now. I'm storyboarding right now, the new show open and things like that, because as somebody pointed out a couple weeks ago, our open has Matt driving somewhere. Which some people who work from home do actually just go on drives sometimes because they're like, I just need to get out of here. So,
I mean, I do drive places.
Yeah. It's just not in a loop to come back here to work.
No.
So anyway, all that stuff is in the works. Some official housekeeping, some stories that aren't big enough for us to place into the show proper. The first one, Matt, reports are coming in once again that a PlayStation 5 Pro is on the way. Do you believe this, Matt?
Nope. I don't even know what it would be. Like, just slightly better hardware? I don't know what that would be. Like, you're already upping the price outside of America for this thing. What are you going to charge for a Pro?
The news is coming from Tom Henderson at Insider Gaming, and he has been a very reliable leaker in the past. Now, the other thing that Insider Gaming published earlier
unless it outright replaces the PS5 in general and becomes the new $500 SKU, then what's the difference?
Well, so they already reported initially that PlayStation was working on a disc-free version of the PS5, and then from then on out, you'd have to buy an external disc drive if you wanted to have a disc drive for your PlayStation 5. And they're still standing behind that story, by the way. In fact, in this story about the PS5 Pro, they bring that story back up and say, you know what? That discless version of the PlayStation 5 is coming before the end of this year. And they're saying that the PlayStation 5 Pro is coming before the end of 2024, before the end of next year. And I agree with you. What is it? Now they're saying that PlayStation filed a new patent, that Mark Cerny filed a new patent for hardware that makes, and this is the Crib Noise version, that makes ray tracing easier. So a lot of people are saying, well, they promised ray tracing with the PlayStation 5. It hasn't been able to really deliver. Maybe this updated PlayStation 5 Pro will actually have. Now, to be fair,
is that going to make anyone who's disappointed in the ray tracing on the thing they already paid $500 for happy?
No.
Like, what? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Now, to be fair, ray tracing is starting to become more common.
Yeah.
A lot of games have it now. I noticed that the Resident Evil 4 remake demo had ray tracing.
Now that they fixed it.
Right.
Yeah.
So more games are having it, but still, it seems we're 2+ years into the life cycle at this point. Now games are just starting to trickle in with it. The big feature it's supposed to have. So I agree with you, Matt. Like I struggle to see how this story could be true.
I could see like a lower profile like piece of heart, like a slim kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like a actual difference in power,
more powerful.
I don't really believe that.
I mean, they just got through the component shortage as well.
Yeah.
Like they're just now really hit their stride with production.
Like
on
there's
the
no
base
need
PS5.
for that. Everything runs fine. Like maybe it doesn't like look as great as you thought it was going to be. Also, we haven't even seen what Unreal Engine 5 stuff looks on this thing yet.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
and it's not like there's any kind of slouch happening with stuff like Horizon or upcoming Spider-Man. Like it just doesn't seem necessary.
Yep.
Like that was definitely necessary for PS4. Like PS4 was running everything like a slug.
Yep.
By that point, and it was a needed update. And when I became a much more viable, frontline choice for me when I got the Pro. I don't understand why I'd want a PS5 Pro. Unless it was like a $100 add-on to the existing system. But if you want me to buy a whatever this would be, $600-$700 system for slightly better ray tracing,
that's a hard sell. Because you got to remember, Pro
it's a hard
gave
sell to
people
anybody.
4K. It went from 1080p to 4K, and that's a big jump. That made a big difference. Even though it was checkerboarding, still it made a huge difference. So,
and I just don't see, like, how do you sell that to a normal person?
You don't. You would replace, basically, if this happens, they're just going to replace the old model. I don't think they'll sell the old model anymore. And I don't even know if they would call it the PS4 or PS5 Pro.
I think you just do a running change, basically.
They're just like, this is the new PS5. Like,
or you wouldn't even say anything.
Right. You just put the components in
there. If you know, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me. I'm not saying Tom Henderson is intentionally giving us bad information or anything like that.
No, but like this information that comes out like unofficially from leaked sources is always going to be a little different than maybe what actually ends up being true. And maybe they are, I'm sure they are talking about that or experimenting with that idea.
Yeah.
I just don't really think that, I don't know how you bring that to market.
Yep. I just think maybe he got bad information or old information. It just doesn't make sense to me, but we'll see. Because he says that, again, that discless version of PS5, he says that they're going to debut it around E3 here in the next couple months.
Well, I mean, we saw some stuff about like, you know, a PS5 that has a removable disk drive, and like that you can add. Yeah, I mean that has that been rumored, or they haven't?
That's what he's talking about. He also reported that story as well.
So that's not confirmed yet.
It hasn't been by Sony, no. But he says it's going to be debuted at E3 and come out before the end of the year, this year. So we'll see. If he hits that, then maybe I'll give it a little more credence to the PS5 Pro, but still not 100%. It just doesn't make sense to me. So we'll see. But that's the rumors making the rounds right now is a PlayStation 5 Pro is on the way. Next up, Matt, something that was surprisingly upsetting to me, and that is that Lance Reddick has died at the age of 60. People may not remember him for games as much as TV and film.
He's been in a bunch of stuff.
He was in Destiny 2. He was in Quantum Break.
He's in Horizon.
Yep, he's in Horizon.
He's Silence.
Yep. Here's Destiny 2 B-roll. I'm wondering if he'll pop up in this. It's from the campaign. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But, Matt, I was really shocked at how much this affected me. Like, it's not like I was a gigantic fan of his or anything like that, but I don't know. For whatever reason, he always every role that he played, I liked the person that he played. I have no idea what he's like in real life.
He's a very nice guy in real life, and he was a giant dork.
Oh, really?
Like, he was on X-Play several times and volunteered to play Destiny 2 on our stage.
Really?
If he wanted. Like, he loved games. He loved being in games because he liked playing games. He just liked doing stuff that he thought was fun and neat. He was a real guy. He was a real big dork guy. Like, he was into the stuff. He was
legit.
Yeah, he was not just showing up for a job on Destiny. He really enjoyed being that character. And sure enough, in Destiny, after the announcement of his death, people would gather around his character because his character hangs out, hanging out.
Right.
In the hub,
Yeah,
and people were all standing around him and like doing like kneeling emotes and stuff. Like, it was a whole thing. But yeah, he's one of those that guys. You've seen him in 100 things. The Wire.
Don't remember what his name is.
You don't always remember his name, but every time you see him, you're like, oh, him. Yeah. But yeah, it's very, very young, and apparently just natural causes, nothing. Like,
he's in
nowhere.
great shape too.
Yeah. That's
the crazy part about it. Very slim.
Yeah. Well, that's the Jim Fix situation.
The Jim Fix situation?
Jim Fix, he was 70s and 80s. He's a jogging guru, like a fitness guru. But as Dennis Leary said, did a jogging book, did a jogging video, dropped out of a massive heart attack. When he was fucking jogging. That's when. I mean, if there's genetic predisposition in there, you're up against the clock.
Yeah.
And you don't know what his family history was or what was going on.
Yeah, genetics go into it a lot. But I was surprised at how much this really affected me. Just learning about it, I was just like, what? Like, I also feel like he was just hitting his stride in his career.
Yeah, he was really starting to get higher and higher profile.
Yeah, I felt like he was finally, his career was blossoming into what, he had worked his whole life for. But unfortunately, life is cruel, man. It really is. Like, you could do everything the right way, and one day you die for like some random reason. It's really bizarre. But a very talented actor. I do appreciate that he kind of cut his teeth a lot working in games. Destiny 2, Quantum Break.
Yeah, he did. He liked games.
Yeah.
He liked doing them.
Yep. So Lance Reddick.
And he
rest in peace.
And Wesker. He was Wesker.
Wait, he was Wesker?
In the live action thing.
Oh, really?
Well, apparently when he first put on the outfit, he's like, oh my God, I'm Blade.
That's funny. Okay, I get that. So anyway, Lance Reddick, rest in peace. I'm sure a lot of you guys loved him as well.
Go see John Wick.
Yeah, Big Dave Lazard says that don't forget he's in John Wick 4, which comes out this week, right? Yeah, it's so funny, Matt. I'm seeing lots of marketing stuff for John Wick 4 where they're working with like Burger King and all these blue chip brands. Yeah. And it's like, have y'all ever watched a John Wick movie? They're like literally the most violent movies on the market. Non-horror movies, absolutely. I mean, those movies are brutal.
I don't know. I like the John Wick movies, but I think their reputation is a little inflated.
Really?
Yeah.
It feels like they're always finding some new twisted way to kill someone with a gun.
Sorta, but it's like, I saw a thing today. It was like the way this changed action cinema changed action cinema forever, and it's like this, where he's fighting the guys off in his apartment in the first one and stuff. I'm like, it's cool, but like, I'm sorry, I've been watching Hong Kong action movies since the 80s, and like, this is really just American cinema catching up as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I agree.
But I love Keanu in those, and
I do. I love the John Wick movies, by the way. Don't get me wrong.
I don't think
I won't go see him in the theater though. I'll wait and watch him on my TV.
Yeah, I don't think I saw 3 yet.
I have.
I never got around to 3.
It's good. They're all good.
I'm sure they're all fine. But no, he's in that, and he's the voice of Hellboy in that new Hellboy game coming up.
Wow. Hopefully, he got all his lines done for that already.
It's all they announced already. Like, the recording was done, and he will still be Hellboy in that game.
Yeah, it's a shame. Moving on, another announcement that Matt, I think I may have missed this. I don't know how I missed it, but. And maybe other people missed it too because they made a point to announce it this week, is that the first DLC for Horizon Forbidden West is PlayStation 5 only. Yeah. Did you know that?
I knew that.
Has that been a thing since it was announced?
Yeah.
I missed that somehow.
I mean, in the sense that I think the end of this trailer literally says PS5.
Does it?
And no PS4 logo. They weren't very obvious about it.
I had missed that completely. It blew my mind. I can't think of another game, Matt, where you could buy the base game on a platform, but then you couldn't buy the DLC for that game on that platform.
I mean, maybe Destiny 2? I can't remember.
What about Breath of the Wild? Could you buy Wii U DLC for that?
Probably.
I think so, yeah. But I found it weird.
Yeah, especially it's interesting if you like the recent interviews where they literally say we did things in this that we couldn't do before because we didn't have to worry about the PS4.
Yeah, they don't have to worry about optimizing for PlayStation 4 anymore. I mean, if you need any more proof that developing for both platforms is holding back the overall product, this is your proof. Guerrilla says it in multiple interviews that having to make this game for PS4 kept the game from looking and playing as well as it could have on PS5. So
although it sounds like it's more that like they had to limit the flying stuff and
where you can see lots of geometry.
Yeah, the flying stuff and like just the scale. I mean, I think even that giant thing crashing through the Hollywood, you just had to limit the kind of scale of what happened. And it's not like Forbidden West lacked scale.
No,
but if you want to sell DLC and kind of up the game to like the thing that like if you're gonna play Forbidden West and be like, well, what would you like? Bigger and better, and I think most people would say more flying because you get the flying so late in the game.
Yeah, like literally, not even in the last act, like the last part of the last act. Yeah,
they want you to people would want more flying, more stuff that takes into account having the full ability spread and stuff that I mean, Frozen Wilds did the same thing. It's like. Frozen Wilds is like, okay, we hope you've played most of the game because we're about to you're gonna have to learn, you have to use everything you've learned to survive this thing. Yeah. Frozen Wilds was a lot harder than the rest of Horizon.
I'm guessing this will be the same way.
I would think so. That seems to be Guerrilla's MO. So,
Kevin Roffa brings up a good point. This is also happening with Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah. The DLC for that you also will only be able to play on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. And honestly, for pretty much the same reasons, according to CD Projekt Red.
And the Final Fantasy, technically the intergrade thing was next gen only, wasn't it? So there was a DLC that the DLC was exclusive to PS5.
Final Fantasy 7 Remake, the intergrade?
Yeah, there's DLC that was only on PS5.
Was that because they couldn't get it to run on PS4 or because they wanted to push people to PS5?
I mean, I don't think the original game even really couldn't run on a PS3. Yeah. In terms of geometry and structure and tech beyond the visuals. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I do know that they did not put that DLC on PS5.
I would lean towards it was more about...
And Mr. Starwalker mentions that, too.
Okay.
There.
Good calling that out. The Yuffie DLC, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I think that was a marketing ploy to push people to PS5 instead of like a technical issue like the other two games that we've talked about.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't played the Yuffie DLC, but maybe there's less shimmying in that.
Yep. So anyway, just something to keep in mind. If you played Forbidden West on your PlayStation 4 or your PS4 Pro, you're not going to be able to play the DLC. Next up, so we've been talking about PlayStation VR 2. And we're going to talk about...
You did skip one.
Oh, I did?
Mm-hmm. You skipped 007.
Oh, I did. Oh, so I did. So in case you guys aren't aware, there is a new James Bond game in development at IO Interactive, which is a studio behind the Hitman franchise. And it was announced 2 years ago, 2+ years ago.
Something like that.
And we haven't really seen hide nor hair of the game yet. And so, luckily, Eurogamer got a chance to talk to IO Interactive. And just on a whim, they brought up the new 007 game, not thinking that IO would say anything about it. And then, as it turns out, IO was like, you know what, we can say a couple things about that right now. So, great job by Eurogamer's editor. That's why you ask the questions, even if you don't think you're going to get an answer. And... basically what they said, Matt, is that this game is going to be a reboot, a gaming reboot for the franchise with a brand new James Bond that's never appeared in any movie. They said that they are creating the character so that the character will work well in video games in perpetuity. So it appears that they are saying, we're going to create one James Bond for games, and then MGM is going to do whatever they're going to do with the movie, and we're just going to ignore it, basically. How do you feel about that? Do you think that hurts the IP, the gaming IP at all?
I think it's probably better.
Yeah?
Like, don't be beholden to the bad decisions of all these other, and having to deal with Daniel Craig's license or whoever gets the role next. And licensing holds these games up constantly. So being able to free yourself from the likeness rights and just make a game once you've got the Bond license is going to help a lot. I mean, then you only really have to worry about the Bond license and the music. Yeah.
They said they've been working closely with.
Although if they make him look like he does in the books, he's going to look an awful lot like Timothy Dalton. Because Dalton is probably the closest to the book description of James Bond.
They've been working closely with Eon Productions, which is like the company that basically holds the James Bond Bible. They're the ones who decide what becomes canon, what doesn't become canon.
And Eon stands for?
I don't know.
Everything or Nothing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is why that game is named that.
Clever. It may be hard to believe, but it's been more than a decade since we got the last James Bond video game, which was 007 Legends, which was abysmal. So
that was the one with it was like a mishmash of different stuff, like driving and shooting.
Yep.
And
yeah, it was really bad. And so it's been a while since we've had a good James Bond game. It looks like this game, though, from IO Interactive, is still years and years away.
Yeah, I think there's a way. I do think they're missing a trick on the most. I mean, it's outside of the license's usual brand, but I think you could make it work. I think they need to do a Lego James Bond game.
Hard to believe they haven't done that already.
Yeah.
Seriously.
They have the license. There are James Bond Aston Martin Lego sets. So the pathway is there.
Interesting.
And I know they're not like kids movies and like the Lego games try to be more kid, but like you could do that.
That's one of the few IP left.
They're PG-13 movies. The Marvel movies are PG-13. They made Marvel games. I mean, that's a little more obvious compared. But hey, the Suicide Squad was R. They're in that DC Villains game.
I mean, I would also argue that there are enough adults that would buy a Lego James Bond game to make it worth your while.
Each set of levels is a different Bond movie. You can go through all the different Bonds. You can go through all the different, and you have all the music. I mean, the music is what makes the Lego games work half the time. Like, it's the only thing left.
Yeah.
You've done Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, all the big, Batman, the Danny Elfman music really made the original Lego Batman work. One of the best Lego moments is taking off for the first time as Superman in Lego Batman 2, and the Christopher Reeve Superman theme starts up, the John Williams theme. Like, I think the music would really make the James Bond thing. Where you have vehicles, you have supervillains, it's all there.
Yeah. But it looks like we have a ways to go. We're going to have to wait for a while, at least a couple years. They're really in pre-production right now. They're trying to figure out the plot and how that's going to be structured throughout the game. And again, they're working with the team who works on all the James Bond IP to make sure that they get everything nailed down. So if there's a developer that I would feel confident putting James Bond in the hands of, it's IO Interactive. They have been making espionage spy games for decades now. So if anyone can do it, I trust them. Although the track record for Bond games since GoldenEye 007 has not been good. That's just the truth. Next. So we've been talking about PlayStation VR2 a lot here on GameFace because it just came out. We did 2 episodes in a row where Matt gave his impressions, I gave mine. We're going to talk about a PlayStation VR2 game today on the show. But one thing we have been talking about consistently is how can you get PlayStation VR2 to work for PC? And both Matt and I felt that if they were able to do that, that might open up a new market. It might increase the odds at least a little bit of PlayStation VR2 being a success ultimately. And we thought months or years from now that might happen. Well, Matt, things are happening a lot more quickly. In fact, already, people have PlayStation VR 2 working as in cinema mode on PC, meaning you can put it on and you can use it to view your PC screen. And it does track your motion, so as you move your head, it changes the orientation of the screen inside the headset. So that's step one. Now, obviously, the big step that everyone's waiting for is when can I play games on my PC using PlayStation VR 2? And Matt, that appears to be a ways away. In order for it to work, PlayStation VR 2 needs to be plugged into a virtual link USB-C port on a PC. Most PCs do not have that port. So that's the first step, is that everybody needs this port and nobody has the port. So that's a problem. There are adapters that you can buy for it. Those cost $350 right now. So if you do the math and you're like, okay, $550 plus tax for a PlayStation VR 2, that's $600, and then $350. You're getting it around $1,100 to get PlayStation VR 2 to work on your PC.
At that point, you might as well just buy an actual PC headset.
Valve or Index or something. Yeah.
Although if you already have one, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, at least this way you can play PC and PlayStation 5.
Yeah. I mean, but look, they may find a way to work around that eventually. It is impressive that already they've kind of figured out a way to at least make the cinema mode work. So it's already way ahead of schedule compared to PlayStation VR 1. So I would argue that it's possible within a year's time that this thing could be working pretty well on PC. But we'll see. It's good to see that they've already kind of got it at least headed in the right direction, and there's people out there working really hard on it right now. When do you anticipate that they'll finally have that issue cracked?
Years.
Years?
Yeah.
Oh, you think it'll be years?
Yeah.
So you think my estimate of a year is ridiculous then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be much, much longer than that.
As far as getting rid of that adapter that they need.
Oh, yeah. You'll never get rid of that adapter, I don't think.
Yeah. Because you have to have it for it to interface.
You're basically going to have to wait for that adapter to drop in price and to make sure that it's all compatible and that it'll work with various things. Like, yeah, that's a full-time job for a pretty big team. Like, you know, and obviously crowdsourcing that from the fan community can get things done, but like it's going to be a long time.
Yeah.
Do not buy a PlayStation VR 2 hoping to use it on PC for games anytime soon.
Oh, I would definitely say that. Dude, don't buy PlayStation VR 2 with the idea of playing it on PC ever.
No.
Like, wait until it happens and then maybe think about buying it. Don't do it anticipating that it might happen because, to Matt's point, you're probably right. You're probably always going to need that adapter just to make it communicate.
Unless you happen to have, you know, a motherboard or something that has that. I mean, I don't even know if mine does, and mine's pretty
Most
high
don't.
end.
Yeah. Yep.
Seems like something you would very specifically have to select for.
Yep, for sure. Next, Nintendo Switch Online, which is pretty cheap if you just want it to play games online. But if you want to dive into Nintendo's backwards compatible catalog on Switch, you also need to chuck up a couple extra bucks to get some games to play. And yeah, well, it basically doubles the price of Nintendo Switch Online. And so people, fairly, are keeping an eye on Nintendo as it releases new games for the service to see if it's worthwhile. My guess would be the vast majority of people are paying that lower price.
Yeah. Because I can't imagine that many people want to double their cost just to play N64 games.
Yeah, because I'll be honest with you, I do pay the extra amount, and I don't know why. Like, I rarely have ever used that feature.
I do not, and I mean, you're talking to someone who has subscribed to SWOTOR since the beginning. And I don't remember the last time I played SWOTOR, but I just do it to support them.
Yep. So anyway, Nintendo announced this week some new games coming to Nintendo Switch Online. And again, there's reason for people to pay attention. Lineup, not so good, Matt. And I'm really starting to wonder at this point if And Pachter talks all the time about how Nintendo has this gigantic catalog, and if it just put everything on mobile and they charge people $5 a month, they'd be making billions and billions of dollars a year.
Mobile?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he believes that. So,
how am I going to control an NES game on mobile and not be fucking furious inside of 2 minutes?
You'd be surprised, Matt. A lot of people don't have problems playing games on mobile. A lot of
but a game that was designed to be played with a controller 40 years ago, that ain't going to translate properly. I promise you.
Well, beyond the hardware issue, I'm more concerned, is there enough games that people care about? Because if this is what we're getting for Nintendo Switch Online at this point, like, I almost feel like the law of diminishing returns is starting to take effect here. So they announced Exvius, which I'll be honest with you, is one of my favorite shooters of all time. I can't tell you how much money I spent on Exvius in the arcade back in the day. Way too much. So Exvius for the NES, and all these games are already live now. Exvius for the NES, Side Pocket for the SNES, and then Game Boy games, Kirby's Dream Land 2 and Burger Time Deluxe.
Finally.
Matt, why... Am I wrong here?
What?
That they're already experiencing the law of diminishing returns, like with the games?
I mean, you're wrong in the sense that there's tons and tons and tons of stuff worthwhile. They're just not doing it.
Why would they focus on these games?
I mean, some of it is licensing, I'm sure, but some of it's just why? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Who wants Side Pocket that much?
I know. I don't get it.
All this, why aren't you fucking strong-arming Square to let you put the Square stuff on? Everybody wants Chrono Trigger and all. I mean, I know Square knows that they can sell those separately for whatever, but either make it a definitive collection of this of a system or don't.
Yeah.
Stop. Even now it's like. I mean, look, man, that was the heyday of. Man, I was in high school. That was the 16-bit era was my time. I was in middle school and high school through that. And half the things on that Nintendo Switch Online thing, I don't know what those games are. I've never heard of them.
I know. I don't know what's going on.
There's a bunch of staples. There's they got Zelda and Mario, and there's a lot. There's kind of the baseline. But in terms of where's I actually don't even remember if ActRaiser's on there. I don't think it is.
I don't think it is either. Yeah.
It's just crazy. There's nothing on there that tells you unlike say the Genesis Mini collections, those two Genesis Mini consoles, you put those two together and you got a pretty solid foundation of why the Genesis was an awesome console.
Yeah.
You put and I think even the Super Nintendo Mini does a pretty good job, but a better job than the Nintendo Switch Online collection does.
Swan Senpai says, you guys talk about Mario and Kirby. In my house, it was Side Pocket and Flimbo. Look, I can understand, okay, maybe back in the day you played the crap out of Side Pocket because at the time it was the best pool game on the market. Why would you ever play it now? Why?
Well, because there's
now it's the worst pool game on the market.
Right, there's better pool games to play.
You can get one for free that's better than that. I hear you, what you're saying. Back when you were a kid, it was one of the 10 games. Me too. There were bad games or mediocre games that I played when I was a kid because they were the only games I had. That's the game that my uncle bought me for Christmas and because he had no clue or whatever. We all have done that. But to say that somebody is going to subscribe to a service now because of a 2D top-down pool game, that's absurd. It's just not going to happen. So I don't know what Nintendo's doing with...
I mean, I'd play Mario and Kirby because a lot of the older Mario and Kirby games are better than the modern ones.
Yeah? 2D.
I mean, there is nostalgia there, but I would argue that they've never topped Mario World.
Yeah.
2D-wise.
I think that's part of the... Yeah. For sure. I think that's part of the issue with sort of retro and indie games is that they've kind of figured that stuff out a long time ago already. But
and it depends. I think there is no other Zelda game that replaces Link to the Past. But a sports game like Side Pocket or anything Madden ever did, yes, you're going to get a hit of nostalgia if you play Madden 93 again. But how long are you going to play Madden 93?
Well, you're going to scroll through the teams.
Yeah, you're going to be like, look at that.
Oh, look, there's Brett Favre.
You're going to play 2 quarters.
There's Dante Culpepper. And you're going to play a quarter with each one of them, and you're going to throw it away. Yeah, so anyway, does Data East even exist anymore?
I don't know.
I don't think it does.
I'm sure somebody owns the rights to it somewhere.
Someone has the IP, obviously, so Nintendo can license it. But I don't even know if it exists anymore.
But, I mean, it's just Nintendo doing the bare minimum they can do to call something a service and...
So they can get that extra $25.
Pretty much. I mean, they're not getting it out of me. I got.
Yeah. If you haven't figured it out yet, we are not recommending to spend the extra $25.
And I'm sorry, honestly, I know the store is closing or whatever, or has closed or whatever. I forget when that's happening. The Wii U Virtual Console is a way better selection.
Mm-hmm.
And
so did the Wii.
And you own the games, and you can continue to play them, and you don't have to pay a subscription for them. And on top of that, like, it's so easy to emulate these things.
Yeah.
And have them run better than they do even on
these systems. Yeah.
It's pointless.
Yeah.
The only reason to throw that subscription is to be able to play Mario Kart online or whatever.
And you can just get that for the $25 a year. So that's what we recommend. Next up, System Shock Remake. We just talked about it here on GameFace because it was a part of the big Steam. What was it called? Something Fest.
It was the demo fest or first. Yeah, I don't know.
So anyway, they put out a bunch of demos, and that was one of them. Matt played it. I played it. Game was looking pretty good. Now it's been delayed again until May for PC. And then the console versions are kind of put on like a hiatus right now. They don't know when those versions are coming out. It's a little bizarre. This game has just been... They can't finish it. It really has just been excruciating trying to get this game out the door. Mm-hmm. Now, what I played in the demo, it's pretty good. Yeah. I don't understand what has taken so long, though, at the same time. It's really
it's an
bizarre.
old game. There's a lot of moving parts. It's probably a small team.
Yeah.
I don't know. The good news is I don't care. This can get here whenever it gets here, and it's not going to affect me at all.
It would have been nice if it came out this month, because it would have helped us with GameFace. But unfortunately, that's
I don't have the time to play this thing again this month.
You may be surprised when we start getting into some of these months later on where there's no games that something like System Shock.
I have other things to do than play video games as well. So, as opposed to playing a remake of a 25-year-old immersive sim that isn't even as good as its own sequel.
Yeah, that's true.
Which they probably should have remade anyway.
Yep. So anyway, if you're waiting on the System Shock remake, it's not coming out until May now. Hopefully they do not delay it again.
I feel like I'm going to have other things to do in May.
I hope so. Although looking
begins with a Z and rhymes with an Elda.
Yeah, and that may take all month.
Then we're going to jump into Diablo.
It may take all month, actually.
And then we're going to... That's a bad time to release that game, but I'm sure they have no choice.
Yep. And then the final little piece of housekeeping is that right now GDC is going on, the Game Developers Conference. Used to go to it every year. I have not been to it now in a really long time. In the last couple of years, the attendance has been basically zero because of COVID. This year, attendance doubled from last year. So it appears that it's basically back to the way it was before. One thing to keep in mind, if you're looking for news to come out of GDC, it usually doesn't. It really is what it says it is. It's a game developers conference where young developers go and try to find jobs. They go to network. Developers workshop with each other, talk about tricks of the trade, things that they've learned working on hardware. There's seminars where they talk about game development. It's not typically something where news is broken. And
it's not very press oriented. It's you're literally talking about tools and techniques.
Yep. You can learn a whole hell of a lot about Unreal Engine at GDC, but not a lot about the next games that are coming out built on Unreal Engine. So don't expect a lot of news coming out from that. It is good to see stuff like GDC coming back, though, and getting back to running full bore. Obviously, a good sign for E3, which also is coming back this year for the first time since...
there's no good signs for E3.
You're right. At this point, there really aren't.
Let's not sully GDC by lumping it in with E3.
GDC is proving that the industry is willing to recongregate in large halls again. And that's a big step. So
they did a little bit at DICE, too, and everybody got COVID again.
Everybody got COVID, yeah.
Good luck, everyone.
Yeah, after DICE, my Facebook feed was, for 3 days, was full of people saying they got COVID at DICE.
Those people came back from PAX with it, too.
Yeah. Well,
it's just kind of, if you're going to go to a convention...
Yeah. That's what you're rolling the dice. Yeah. Yep. Just like flying in a plane right now.
Because a lot of those people are filthy.
Yeah. That's true. But anyway, GDC is happening. Good to see the industry kind of getting back into the swing of things. And that's it for our housekeeping for today. Let's head into our chat and see what you guys are up to. Let me scroll up here so I can thank anybody who subscribed. Ooh, it just took off. Who subscribed with Twitch Prime. Slagathor, thank you for Twitch Prime. People asking for a PS5 Slim. You kind of intimated that. You kind of said, I would expect maybe a Slim or a smaller version of PlayStation 5, but not necessarily something more powerful. Swan Senpai says, how big will the Pro be? PC big? I mean, let's be honest. The PlayStation 5 is already kind of PC big. It's big. All on its own already. So, Yeah, I mean, it's already kind of there. But yeah, you're probably right. If they make it more powerful one, it will probably be bigger. Or maybe they can slim down some of those components right now, or that they've been building a certain way, and they could actually get it into the existing form factor, but still be more powerful.
One more little news thing that apparently just broke is that Netflix is doing a Gears of War live-action show.
Oh, shocker. Everybody wants to get in on it now, man.
Yeah, all of a sudden, it's like,
no.
Guess what? I saw this deranged TikTok where some woman was like, I'm a giant book nerd or whatever, and all the game, I just watched The Last of Us, and it turned out that all you game people have been gatekeeping the best stories in modern media from us. And I'm like, okay, first off, no one was trying to stop you from playing video games. Also, the best stories in modern media? No.
Wow.
No.
You need to get out more.
Don't judge all video games by The Last of Us, okay?
Please,
It's a little different from what you're going to find in, say, everything.
Every other thing, yeah.
No.
Yeah, I agree with you.
What in the hell?
Yep, it's pretty crazy. David5807, thank you for Twitch Prime. 37 months, man. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Mr. Starwalker, I don't think I'll buy a PS5 Pro. Don't see the need for it. Maybe 8K. Who needs to play games in 8K? Who has an 8K TV? Nobody.
You don't have 8K eyes. There's no reason to have 8K. You need 8K for a billboard in Times Square. You don't need it in your living room.
Yep. AJ the Legend Watson asked a good question. Which version of PS5 has sold better, the disc drive or without the disc drive? I don't know.
The disc drive has sold more from what I saw.
Has it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that,
like 2/3 to 1/3.
Two-thirds to 1/3.
Last I saw, maybe that's changed since it became more plentiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, the disc drive version sells better.
Okay.
Disc drive version sells out first, too, I've noticed.
Wow. Sleeping Turtle 3, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's awesome. A Million Miles Away, thank you for Twitch Prime. Another question from Andy T. Monahan. They just raised the price everywhere else. Would it stay the same? So they're asking about the price for a PS5 Pro.
That's what I said. I said, what's that going to cost? 600, 700?
Probably. Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, they would raise the price. I mean, the PS4 Pro was more expensive than the PS4 when it came out. It cost more.
Of course, the PS4 had dropped in price by then. But
yeah. El Guapo 3385, adding PS5 Pro to the hardware lineup that includes VR2 is asking a lot of consumers. It is. Yeah, I mean, just asking someone to buy a PS5 and PlayStation VR2 is asking a lot from consumers on its own. Let's see what else we got in here. Fringe was an awesome show, which also has Anna Torv. Matt mentioned that last week. Oh. I hope you guys watched Spoiled for The Last of Us, by the way. We published that a couple days after the show last week. I thought it came out great. I was really happy with how that show came out, Matt. We'll probably put that up on YouTube here in the next couple days so people there can check it out. Anything else you guys are talking about in here? There's a lot of talking about the actor that passed away. I think that might be it. Gohan Rage, thank you for subscribing for 50 months. That is awesome, dude. Thank you so much. I hope you're doing good. And I think that might be it. Vincent says the $20 tier includes NES, SNES, and Game Boy, so pretty much everyone gets them. Oh, okay, he's right. It's the N64 and Sega Dreamcast, or Sega
Genesis.
Dreamcast, the Sega Genesis that you pay the extra money for, which is also weird. It's so weird how they're doing it. Billy Bo Baggins 64, the Nintendo Legacy services continue to be incredibly insulting. Really, the problem is they keep making us rebuy this stuff. Like, I have a huge virtual console library on the Wii that's dead there. Some of the stuff I got free from Nintendo. Some of the stuff I paid for, and now it's dead. It's gone. Like, I'll never be able to play it again. I'm not going to keep my Wii around to go play that old virtual console. Nobody's going to do that.
Well, I got good news for you regarding your PC.
What?
It can do that too.
Yeah, I know. You're right. Yep, you're right. Okay, so it looks like we got through the early chat there. But yeah, I mean, I understand why Nintendo launched the service, obviously, because everyone's making money off of that stuff. But I feel like Nintendo should have kept online play free and then charged the $20 or $25 for the other stuff.
Yeah, well,
then it makes more sense.
The online play is what they needed to charge from because it costs more for infrastructure. I think the virtual console stuff is just sort of an incentive to make it feel like less of a dumb thing.
Yeah.
Because, look, I can count on one hand how many times I've played an online thing on the Wii.
On Wii?
Yeah. If you don't play, or not on the Wii, on the Switch, if you don't play Smash Brothers or Mario Kart,
you're not playing much.
What are you doing?
Splatoon.
Online. Yeah, Splatoon. Yeah. But I don't use any of those, so
Yeah.
The only reason I'd really be subscribed is to get the Super Nintendo, Nintendo stuff. I guess I don't care about original Game Boy stuff beyond like a couple 3 titles.
I mean, as little as I play online...
Game Boy Advance would honestly be the bigger draw for me in terms of the upsell subscription. But again, I have all of those actually in my closet with Game Boy Advances if I want to play those.
Yeah, and they still work. Yeah.
And a lot of those would be Castlevania, and they just came out with a collection of those. So those Castlevania games are not going to be on that. So it's all too disparate.
Yep. As little as I play games online on my Switch, now obviously a lot of people play Fortnite and other stuff on that I don't. But as little as I play online on my Switch, like even the $25 a year is more than I should be paying.
Yeah, one of the weird things about like the Wii Virtual Console and Wii U Virtual Console was that they were actually kind of in the perfect time before everybody started kind of cashing in on their back catalogs. Like, the Castlevania games are all on the Virtual Console because Konami wasn't putting out Castlevania collections then.
Yeah.
Like, it was easier to do that than, you could just...
Now all publishers are trying to repackage stuff.
Yeah, I didn't even realize until I loaded up the Wii U for the first time in like 4 years the other day that like, oh yeah, I have Metroid Prime Trilogy on this thing. Yeah. Like I could just play that whenever I want. And it's just like, you don't think about that.
Yeah.
It's
I packed away my old consoles. They're in a closet with stuff piled on top of it. Like they're not easy for me to access and just pull them out and play them.
Yeah.
Like,
well, luckily I have the second room with the TV, the old TV.
You don't have a problem with it.
So
you don't
my
have
old
to jam
ones.
stuff in your closets like I do.
Yeah, I mean I do have stuff jammed in that closet, but it's mostly the Toys to Life garbage that I don't know what to do with.
Yeah.
Like if anybody,
I have a lot of that too.
Anybody needs some Disney Infinity?
I'm your guy.
If you'd like to play the Lego what was that? Lego Universe?
Yeah.
I have all of that. I have every single set of that.
That's too bad.
Ridiculous. Some of that was fun. That was good. But it's just like there's no good way to store that.
Yeah. Nope. All my guitars, all that crap.
I gave all the
If you put it in a
Skylanders.
closet, it makes it hard to stack anything else because they're awkward and heavy.
Gave all the Skylander stuff to my sister to give my nephew, so that's her problem now.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. I think it's time. Very Gooster, I have a whole bin of Amiibo.
I have a bin of Amiibo. I have a lot of Amiibos. Also, like I started getting like the cards. Like on Amazon, you can buy like these RF cards that like basically the Amiibos where they just have pictures. And I have a little. They come with the little wallets. It's little adorable. So I have one that's like all the Zelda ones, and I have one that's all the Metroid ones. And I found one that was all the Fire Emblem ones, and it was right around when Fire Emblem Engage came out. And I'm like, oh, that would be good. So I don't have to have all the Fire Emblem characters sitting around on my coffee table every time I want to scan an Amiibo. And I ordered it, and it showed up. And all the other ones are like cards. They're like credit card size or whatever. These are like the size of a fingernail. They're like basically the size of a Switch game card, but they have all the full art of a full size card. So I'm like, who are you? Is that Marth? I don't know. It's like
you gotta take a picture with your cell phone and then blow it up.
Yeah, it's like
do that all the time now.
It's like I got the card set for like ants. But I mean, they work. They're like tiny little RF things. But like, I just thought that was funny. It's like they figured out. It's like, oh, they don't need to be this big. Nope. I can just send you a tiny little box full of these things.
Well, it's like going to restaurants here now. Like they don't have menus anymore. They just have the little code that you scan and you look at the menu on your phone. So
that happened over the weekend. We were at a film festival and they're like, oh, just you scan the QR code to get the menu. Is that okay? And I'm like, if it's not okay, what happens?
Yeah.
Are you hiding paper menus in the back, or is it just like what? Do you act out the menu? I feel like we have to be okay with it, right? Like, do you order for me? Like, what are the options here? I'm curious. If I'm not okay with a QR code,
you better be okay with a QR code in 2023, or you're in trouble. Okay, I think we're ready to get on with the show proper. We're going to kick things off today, but before we do, we have a word from our sponsor. LS Cream is a fine cream liqueur created by fellow gamer and sifter Stevens Charles. It's inspired by an ancestral recipe from Haiti called Cray Mass, and a double gold winner for its original taste at the New York Wine and Spirit International Competition. LS Cream can be enjoyed on the rocks or as a mixer for drinks with its rich blend of fresh cream and neutral grain spirits with notes of coconut, vanilla, cinnamon, and nutmeg. It's great in coffee or to make espresso martinis. To learn more, discover amazing drink recipes, or to track down your own bottle using a handy store locator, head to creamls.com. That's creamls.com. Matt and I love Cream LS. LS Cream, both of us love it. So head to creamls.com, get your own bottle. Again, LeStevhead, who might be in chat today. I don't know if he is. He usually is. He looks like a G in that ad, by the way.
Yep.
It's like, I'll buy liquor from that guy.
Well lit.
Yep. So anyway, support your fellow gamers, support your fellow sifters. He is among us, and he owns that company. So support him however you can. Go to creamls.com. There's a store locator there. There's a history of the liquor. We shared a little bit of that in the ad. But to learn more, go to creamls.com. And with that, it's time to kick off GameFace proper. I saw someone was like, wait a minute, they're just now kicking off the show. I don't know if maybe they don't watch God of Gamblers 33. Maybe you don't watch the show a lot live. But we have like the big section at the beginning where we just talk about the smaller stories. And then when I say we're kicking off the show proper, that means that we're transitioning into the topics where we have a lot more to discuss. And in this episode, the first big topic of the show is Diablo IV. Matt and I were both fortunate enough to get in on the early access beta. They called it an open beta, which is a complete misnomer.
The open beta is this week.
Well, they also called this one open beta, both weekends, for whatever dumb reason.
I called it early access on all my stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought I said open beta. Like if you downloaded it, when you went to download it from PlayStation.
I got a lot of ads for the open beta on the, 27th or whatever. Yeah. But, this one I only saw early access. Maybe it said open beta on the actual title screen, but all my emails definitely said early access.
Okay.
You got this if you pre-ordered.
Yeah. You could play it this past weekend if you pre-ordered, or if you're a part of the press. They sent me a code to check it out. Both Matt and I played it. Matt,
I know everybody talked about the queue. I never waited more than a minute. To get on.
So I did have problems at first. Maybe I jumped in before you did.
Probably. I didn't get to it until Sunday.
Yeah, by then they had fixed them. So I started playing on Thursday or Friday. I can't remember which day it was. And it wasn't terrible. Like the first time I booted, I tried to load in. I had to wait for 9 minutes. Mm-hmm. And the next time it was 7. And the next time it was 5. And then by the time I started playing on Saturday and Sunday, it was like no wait. So I still don't understand, Matt, how they launch this stuff and it just completely craps the bed. Like their stress testing just must suck.
I mean, I think this is the stress testing.
You can replicate like.
Sure, but this is also the point of a beta.
Sure, but it still shocks me that like a lot of times these companies when they launch this stuff, like the network is a disaster at first.
They fixed it in a day. That's pretty good.
Yeah, like a day and a half. They had it back up.
You got to see what it looks. You can mass test as much as you want. It's not going to be the same as getting literally hundreds of thousands of people to do it all at the same time. So
yep. But one thing I will say,
part of the purpose of this was to do that.
Yeah, to network stress it. Yeah, mm-hmm. And look, a lot of you maybe spend a lot of time on social media, on Twitter or whatever, and you hear people complaining a lot because that's pretty much the only thing people do on social media. So you may have seen this horrible narrative around the game late last week. It's trash. It doesn't run. They literally fixed it in 48 hours. Less, actually. More like 36 hours, I would argue. So they fixed it real quick, and the game is not a disaster. In fact, Matt and I both played it for a really, really long time because they let you play it for a really long time. I couldn't believe it. It just kept going and going, and I was like, damn, man, when are they going to cut me off?
It was the whole first zone.
Yeah. And as it turns out that you get ultimately to a final boss, and then that boss is the end, where as far as the content is concerned. Now, you could go back out into the open world, because that is the biggest change for Diablo IV, is that the game is set in an open world. Now, that is technically true, but I would say that I don't know, maybe it's because I had just played Diablo Immortal, but it didn't strike me as wow, I'm playing Diablo in an open world now. It still felt like Diablo to me.
In terms of gameplay, yeah, but it'll be different. I think once you get out into the other zones that have the Forgotten Peaks, the Forgotten Crag. I don't remember.
Something like that.
It is. It's intended to be, very familiar in terms of Diablo. Mm-hmm. The other zone, and again, these zones are gigantic.
They are really big. How many zones are in the final game?
There's 5.
And so we got to experience 1.
Yeah.
And I probably played 15 hours, I'm guessing, something like that.
And the zones are they're 4 or 5 times bigger than the zones in the other games. Mm-hmm. It's a huge game. There's a lot going on.
This opening cinematic, by the way, amazing. Mm-hmm. It's Blizzard, and Blizzard does incredible CG cinematics. This is great. And I've chopped this down drastically. You're not getting everything. You're not getting the whole story here. But this cinematic that opens the game to set the story of it is amazing. And I know a lot of you are like, yeah, well, hell yeah, it's Blizzard. Well, Blizzard hasn't lost its touch. Like, this cinematic is really good. Like, I was like, I want to keep watching this, and then they throw you out to play the game. And the one thing I would say, Matt, is I played it on PlayStation 5, and I'm a little disappointed in the visuals in this game. Not necessarily what it's like to play the game, but like the way they tell the story. So maybe first we should start by giving a plot synopsis, which doesn't take all that long because it's very simple. Basically,
because it's Diablo.
Basically,
most people I know who are like Diablo fans are like they don't even know what the story of Diablo
like,
is.
What is it? Yeah.
Most people cannot tell you what the story of this series is beyond there's a demon and you have to stop him.
Yeah.
Like,
well, in this one, there's a demon, and you have to stop her, and it's Lilith. And Lilith, this whole ceremony right here basically revives Lilith. And then
it frees her from the void, where she's been banished for thousands of years.
Yeah. And so Lilith is back, and it's your job to stop her. And that's pretty much the whole plot. And along the way, everyone has their own little issues that they're having with Lilith being back, and, they play on it a lot.
Well, and you'll deal with the church. They talk about this briefly when you find a statue of him, of Inarius, who's the angel who is supposedly the figurehead of the Church of Light that's been through Diablo for all these years. And the trick is that Inarius was Lilith's lover, and they co-created the world that Diablo takes place in, Sanctuary. And she did some not so great stuff. Yep. So he banished her to the void for eons, and now she's back, and not happy about it. In one of the other trailers you saw, like one of the other trailer where you see like the big war in hell kind of thing. Right. It's her against him. Yeah, that's the face off in that other trailer. And
it does get into that. It starts diving into that towards the end of what I was able to play. They really started expanding on that part of the plot a lot more.
It also gets into like which I think is interesting, because she is the daughter of Mephisto. So they call her the daughter of hatred. She's affecting all the people in the world to some degree, like to be horrible. Which is why you keep running into places that are all terrible in this game. Like you run, a nice little village. Nope, they're going to try to kill you. Like it's all, or you go in like a random village in the open world, and you'll just have people talking about how they screwed over somebody else, or like you do like side quests for someone, like there's one side quest where you're supposed to deliver you're supposed to deliver. There's a collector of a debt collector, and they sent someone to go deliver a bill to another village, and the guy they sent disappeared. So you go find him, and he's like, "Oh, take the thing and deliver it to the guy I was supposed to deliver it to." And you deliver it to, and it's very clear that the guy you delivered it to was the one who had the guy delivering it to him tried to have him killed, and he's very disappointed that you showed up with it anyway. And it's like, oh, everyone in this world is horrible now. It's
because of Lilith's
influence, which is a difference from the previous. The other Diablos kind of had more of a, like the regular people are just sort of trying to live their lives, and they're all kind of on your side, and they they hate the demons and the evil too. But everyone's kind of falling to it at this point. It's like it's got a very
it's almost like there's a spell.
It's got a. I mean, there is. It's got a very apocalyptic feel to it, even for a Diablo game. Very influenced by 2 in terms of tone and look.
If you're wondering why there are subtitles in this B-roll, and you know that Shane always turns off subtitles for GameFace B-roll, you cannot turn them off.
You can turn them off for the full CG cinematics, but there is, as far as I could find, no way to turn. And I don't mind them in this, in like this kind of scenario where like you're talking to people in the kind of the the 3/4 view Diablo camera, but if any cutscenes that are rendered in engine also have these subtitles, and these subtitles are gigantic. And they're like big. They got like the stylized box, and it was incredibly distracting whenever any one of those came out.
I hope that they add that feature to remove it in the final version.
Yeah,
of the game.
I wouldn't mind leaving them on in like this, like like this form here, like which is kind of what Diablo's always done. Yeah, but I would definitely like to turn them off for the cutscene, like the actual cinematics, the in-engine cinematics, because they're very distracting.
Now, when I was talking earlier about
those in-engine cinematics happen way more than the full CG. I mean, traditionally, Blizzard games have those full fancy CG things basically between each act.
Yep. Yeah.
And then you have other.
You only get a handful of them.
Yeah, because they're expensive.
Yeah, they take a long time to make as well. Now, if you're wondering, earlier, just a minute ago, I mentioned that I was kind of disappointed in the graphics. It's not that I don't think the graphics of the moment to moment, like what you're seeing right now, looks bad. Like, I think it looks fine. Not amazing, but good.
I mean, having played it on PC, I think it is amazing.
Oh, really?
The detail on it is astounding.
Wow. So I'm playing on PS5, so that's a little shocking for me to hear.
I mean, part of it is that I'm much closer to the screen.
That could be.
So I can see that, like, the little skull that's floating in my character's head has, like, glowing eyes and shit.
Oh, okay.
Like, the detail is incredible.
Okay.
You may not be able to see that if you're playing on a console with lower image quality.
Away. Yeah.
I mean, so, like, because I certainly felt the same about Diablo 3 in comparison to the PC version of that.
Oh, okay.
It's just,
I just figured
you're just sitting further away.
Be close at least.
I mean, I think it is probably close. You're just not sitting very close.
Maybe.
Like the fact that, I mean, the screen when I play the PC game, it's a far away from me as, like, this monitor is, and it's much closer. I can look at everything very closely.
It looks good. I'm a little disappointed. What I'm really disappointed in,
I would show it to you on PC, but you can't play it now.
Oh, that's right. It's gone
because the beta's over.
Yeah, I would have liked to check that out. What I'm really complaining about is how they handle cinematics in the game. So, for years and years, there was no other game like Diablo. There's no action RPG that you could play for, like, dozens and dozens of hours. That's all changed now. You can play games like The Witcher or Horizon Forbidden West that go on for 60, 70, 80 hours, and all the cinematics in those games are produced with camera angles, amazing-looking character models, etc., etc. And look, it may just be that Blizzard doesn't want to piss off fans, like, we need to keep doing it the way we've always done it, but I don't think there's any reason anymore for a lot of the cinematics in this game to be shown from that three-quarter view pulled 100 yards away where you can't see facial animations. It's an easy way to eliminate a lot of work from the project. So I was a little disappointed in that, and I do get it.
I think part of it is also that nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Like, nobody wants to have to constantly jump between cutscenes and... Because one of the advantages of a lot of the way they present a lot of the dialogue, where, like, especially when you're talking to, like, people in the city or whatever, like, you can just walk away and go do something else. Like, you don't even have to skip anything. You just run. But there's, I think they did it fine. And, like, early on when you see the flashback in the church, like, that's in engine.
Yeah, I don't think that looks very good, though.
It looked fine. It didn't look as good.
Right, it looks fine.
It looks good. Like, again, maybe you need to see it on PC. I thought that looked very good. Especially Lilith in the backlighting was very good. Does it look as good as that opening cinema, the opening, like, rendered CG
well, I would
cinema?
expect it to look like that, but
I would expect
cutscenes also, like, on the quality of most big budget action RPGs.
I mean, I don't think I wouldn't. I would never occur to me to compare this to, like, The Witcher 3 because it's just a different kind of game. It's a dungeon crawler.
Well, it's an isometric.
It's an isometric
action
dungeon.
RPG.
It's an isometric dungeon crawler. It's a dungeon. I'm comparing it to Path of Exile and Grim Dawn and Titan Quest.
Look, I hear you. I know that's the way these games are. This is the leader. Mm-hmm. If there's one that's finally going to break out of that mold and, in my opinion, do things a better way, I thought it would be this one.
Well, I would argue it has. I have never seen cutscenes that look as good as this in an equivalent type of game. As in a dungeon crawler.
Because the bar is literally, like, at the bottom.
Right, but it doesn't need to be because it's not important. It's like
why is it not important here, but it is important in other
Because
games?
this is not a story-focused game. It's a dungeon crawler. Nobody cares about the story in this game.
Interesting. I wonder if most Diablo fans would agree with you on that.
I think they would. I mean, I agree with you.
I've been trying the story in these games is ridiculous.
Well, I tried to look up some backstory stuff on Lilith on, like, just the Diablo wiki, and they barely fucking talk about anything. Like, on like the wiki is run by fandoms. You expect, like, ridiculous overlong explanation. Like, there's barely anything on some of these guys.
Yeah.
Like even, like, characters that are like Bale, or like Deckard Cain. It's just like it kind of covers the basics of what happened to them, but, like, it's shockingly light.
Because there wasn't anything there.
Most of the actual detail comes from, like, the tie-in novels, which I did not know existed until recently.
Yeah.
There's a lot of backstory for various things in these tie-in novels that I've never read that came out in the early 2000s around the time of Diablo 2. But it's just not a priority for this kind of game. This kind of, most people don't even play the story on this. Like, Diablo 3 in particular, like, people just play ladder. Mm-hmm. And, like, I know people that have never even touched the story.
Yeah, I believe it.
It's just not part of the deal. Like, it's just about min-maxing and about, like, getting through this stuff and playing the seasons and, hardcore characters and Iron Man. It's just the appeal on these games is not the appeal of a general standard action RPG. These are a very specific subgenre. And I would argue that this game, at least so far, we'll see about the rest of it, this game is head and shoulders above any other thing in this subgenre has ever been, because Blizzard has basically unlimited resources.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I struggled at times to see a big difference between this and Diablo Immortal.
I think Diablo Immortal is very similar in some ways.
I know people don't want to hear that.
I don't think there's... Well, I mean, it's very different in how it plays in terms of... And kind of the structure and how it unfolds and all that. But the other thing is Diablo Immortal and this are both taking from... And look, there's a bunch of stuff in this that has never been a Diablo game before in terms of the open world and the world events and the world bosses and the strongholds and all this stuff they've talked about in all these previews. But, like... It's stuff we've never seen in a Diablo game, but it's stuff we've definitely seen in like MMOs. Like there's a lot of stuff in this that reminds me of Guild Wars 2.
Oh yeah, it definitely borrows a lot from MMOs for sure.
And like I'm not saying that like diminishes it necessarily, and it is like an expansion of what these kinds of dungeon crawlers can be. It's just, you know, the more experienced you are outside of this, and there are people I know who, you know, there's certainly people who just play Diablo or just play these kind of games, I guess. I can't imagine living that way, but like whatever.
That would be a tough
I mean, I went
deal.
back and played all the other three before the beta went live just to sort of refresh myself, and I really do have to come to grips with the fact that the only one I like is 2.
Yeah,
like
I think a lot of people would agree with you.
Like 3, I thought
one
was
is too primitive
letdown.
at this point.
Well, I mean, 1 is very primitive.
3 made mistakes.
I loved 1 at the time, but 1 is just like, oh, why would you even at this point?
Yeah.
It's so ancient. 2 is still solid, especially the remastered version that came out a couple years ago. And 3 is just 3. I mean, I think
mistakes were made.
I think we talked about it at the beginning of when we talked about most anticipated game, and I just wasn't particularly jazzed about this game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I just don't care. Like, here's the in-engine. That does not look very good. You're right.
So notice how the bell's like a stop sign?
Yeah, that did not look like that when I played this.
Yeah. Now, Erebus Jones says that he played both PC and Xbox Series X, and he said the PC version definitely looks much better.
Yeah,
so it's,
I mean, this is your capture.
Yeah,
on
from
this,
PlayStation 5.
This looks very different from what I
mean, you
played.
can see what I'm talking about here
For sure.
Like,
Yeah.
So I was
although
a
that
little
effect's
disappointed.
still there. That's a cool effect.
It is, yeah.
But like 3, just for me, very specifically, I don't like what they did with any of the classes, and I hate the move sliders around to pick your abilities, and you can only have 4 abilities at once.
Yeah, I can understand that.
And this goes way back to more of a Diablo 2 thing. And as soon as I saw that skill tree, I'm just like, oh, good. Oh, I'm back home. That's good. I like everything about this already better than 3.
JM Rain says, I love the story. Is he saying in this or just in Diablo in general?
I think he said that around when we were just talking about Diablo in general.
Okay.
I mean, it's there if you want to find it.
But you got to look.
Yeah,
it's not very overt, really.
I mean, look, those cutscenes have always been memorable. Like, you know, to this day, like, I mean, I can say the Diablo 2, I can perform that for you probably real time with that. You know, the Wanderer guy's like, why did I follow him? Yeah, I don't know. Like that whole thing, like, I can know that by heart just from having loaded that game up so many times. But like, could I tell you what any of that meant before? Not really.
Yeah. Yep.
I know Tyrael is important for some reason.
Yeah. So this B-roll that you're seeing, this is all basically in chronological order. So it is giving you a nice little snapshot into what it was like to play the beta. Real heavy on cinematics and story in the first couple hours. And then most of that stuff pretty much goes away.
Once you get to the first city, they pretty much let you go.
Yeah, and then you get to start to experience the open world. Now, to me, the big advantage of this new Diablo, at least in my opinion, was the ability to just join up with people whenever you want to that you just meet out in the world. And I could never get someone to join up with me. Did you try it, Matt?
I mean, I kind of spontaneously joined up with people, like if like a big boss popped up in the middle of the world or something. Yeah. But nobody stuck together after that. You know, it wasn't anybody partied up or anything.
I never managed to be able to play with other people. Like I kept.
What were you, a rogue?
Yeah.
Or whatever they are.
Yeah. The middle guy. I get to use a sword and magic. That's who I always choose in pretty much every game, so I can have a well-rounded arsenal. But I thought that it was balanced fine for the rogue, by the way. Like, I didn't really have any issues. Which difficulty did you play it on? Because there was 2 that you could choose from.
The regular one.
Yeah, I played it on whatever the second one was.
I played...
the hardest one that was available.
That was a sorceress.
How did that go?
It was fine.
Sometimes the early going can be tough.
No, she's very, very, very strong.
Oh, really?
Like
right out of the gate.
I mean, you get anyone near you, you're gonna get killed. But her basic attack. I was using fire for fireballs, and then ice is her kind of secondary thing. And like the fire is damage over time. And like one nice thing I like about this game is, and maybe it'll show it here. I don't know how much DOT you were doing on things. Damage over time is shown as a different color on the health bar than the damage you do. So when I hit them with a spell, I see they lose life, but then there's a chunk of their life that's darkened red that indicates that's how much life they're going to lose from the DOT effect. And so if I can hit a guy and the darkened red is the rest of the health bar, I don't have to worry about that enemy again because he's eventually going to die.
Yeah.
And like again, she could just go boom, 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 and like everyone is about to die, and she can do something else. And if everything gets too bad, she's got explosive secondary attacks she can use, and that's just the first 2 skills you learn.
Wow!
Like she's extremely strong.
I use a lot of traps, like
I can get killed.
Traps
I can get killed in like 4 hits if they get in. Yeah. But like they never got in. I never died once in this game.
Oh, I did. I absolutely did. You didn't die to the boss, the final boss?
I never got to the.
Oh, you never fought him. Okay. I was like, damn, man, you're like a savant because that final boss, I don't think it was even possible for me to beat him. I tried.
You had to be like pretty close to the cap to solve.
I only got to like level 16 or something like that in this. I think.
I think I got to 20 something.
Somewhere around there.
I was up there because I was playing a long time.
But like I'm a rogue, so I use traps. So like I have like poison traps. When they run through the traps, you get the DOT there. But it's hard to pay attention to like each individual like enemy. Like, are they gonna die? Like I just keep dropping the traps and shooting, hoping that I eventually wipe them all out. But I thought the game was pretty well balanced for the rogue. I did die here and there, but not very often. It was usually against like a boss or some big foe. Or there's a couple of times where they just kind of monster closet you and just drop a ton of dudes like right down on top of you. I think I maybe died once there.
Yeah, that does happen a lot.
But overall, I thought that the curve was pretty good. Like I made progress, and it was perfect. Like it was challenging enough that I kept me engaged, but it wasn't so difficult that it got me angry and made me want to quit playing. And once I got this beta, I pretty much just played it straight for like 3 days. Like, I got up and I was like, I want to play Diablo 4. And I'd play Diablo 4 until I had to do something else, and I'd come back to it again. I got hooked on this game very quickly. And then when I realized that at that boss, the thing ended, I was sad. I wanted to keep playing whenever I got to the end.
I didn't really play it that obsessively because I knew it wasn't going to count.
Yeah. That's the other thing, too. This demo, by the way, everyone's going to get to play this weekend. There will be a true open beta where everyone will get to try this out this weekend. So yeah, and I don't know if it's going to be changed or if they'll.
I think it's just going to be the same.
Yeah, which I don't know. We won't get to play it again.
I don't know if you're.
Or we can maybe start with a new character.
Probably
I guess.
Play a new character. Yeah, but like, yeah. So part of it is just sort of like, why bother until I can play it and it counts.
Yeah, it doesn't count. So if you guys play it this weekend, your progress.
My main annoyance with it was like. I was like, well, I could probably just sit and play this most of the rest of the year, but I know I'm not going to be able to because there's other things I have to play.
Yeah.
It kind of made me, jealous of people that just get to choose what they play. Because I can see this lasting a very long time.
I mean, this game is going to be gigantic. Like, I played it for almost 20 hours, and that was the first zone. Yeah,
actually, the main reason to play the open is because the Necromancer wasn't available in this, and it will be in the open.
This weekend's it will be?
Yeah, all the classes are available in the open.
Okay. That's pretty sweet.
The Necromancer and the Druid were not available.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can only play as the Rogue, the Barbarian, and the Sorcerer this weekend. The Necromancer and the Druid were... I think maybe you could unlock one of those through playing.
No,
you couldn't at all.
They were not available.
Okay.
The pet classes were not available for this.
Okay.
But I'm very curious about the Necromancer because the Necromancer is my favorite in the whole series, and they left him out in 3, and then they put him in, and he sucked because he could only summon like 3 or 4 skeletons. It was just. The appeal of the Necromancer is he has like his army, and you couldn't do that in 3, which was annoying. So I'm very curious how he's going to be and if it's going to be satisfying the way Diablo 2 was.
Now you're seeing my character right there. I'm going to pause it really quickly so you can see the gear. Gear creep, definitely a thing in this game. You're constantly there's just drops all the time, all over the place. Most of them are lower than the gear you have. One of them might be like plus a couple in armor or whatever. I didn't really play this, like looking at specific gear to see what each piece of gear's like buffs were. I just kept equipping whatever had the highest armor rating, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what you do early on. I mean, there's no reason to min-max before you're in the end game.
But you can see down there at the bottom of my inventory how much junk is down there. Like, there's just tons. There, you can see it better now. Like, you're just, like, there's 20 pairs of pants down there.
Well, you gotta break some of those down to get that look.
Where you either break them down or you take them to the store, which is what I'm doing right now, and sell them.
Right, but the ones with the pickaxe, you break those down and you get the cosmetic look.
Right.
And you can change your
if you like how they look, yeah.
Yeah, because you can change your outfit to look however you want.
Yep.
And then no matter what you equip, you always look like how you want.
Right.
Which is nice.
Yeah, most games are doing that now.
Yeah, I mean, that was in Diablo 3 eventually.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was in Diablo 3 at launch, but eventually you got to pick it. So I appreciate that you no longer have to look like some kind of maniac thrift store weirdo from for the first 20 hours of the game in a dungeon crawler now.
But there's so many drops. Like every fight, there's like 10 things laying on the ground, and you have to go and look through all your stuff and find that one pair of pants that's a +2 or whatever over your other pair of pants that you were wearing. So there's a lot of inventory management. And here I'm showing you basically when you're out in the open world, these are the options that you have when you're trying to communicate with other human players who are in the open world. If you want to invite them to the game or you just want to chat with them or whatever, these are kind of the options that you have while you're doing that. And again, I tried over and over to get people to join up with me, and nobody ever would. So I had no luck sort of playing with
nobody's playing this as a group unless they're playing with a group they've already chosen ahead of time.
By the way, I created the Sifted Clan. For those of you playing this weekend, feel free to search for it and join it when the game comes out.
If it still exists,
yeah,
we don't know how much. I don't know how much they're wiping this.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to. Why would they let you create a clan if they're going to wipe the clan? That would be
trying
pretty
everything
dirty.
out.
I guess so. I guess. But anyway, there's a Sifted Clan. So if you're playing this weekend, search for it and join it. You can join it. There's no password or anything for it. And then in June, hopefully, it's still there, and we can all join up as a Sifted Clan and play some Diablo 4. Erebus Jones says progress carries over to beta weekend 2, and then you get the 2 new classes, the Necro and the Druid. So it looks like you and I would have to play as a different character and play through it all again if we want to. There might be some new stuff though. Like the other thing that happened, like while I was playing, was world events. So you get like a little message. It would say, "Hey, there's a world event going on." And the one that popped up for me was like a boss fight. There was some huge creature everybody's fighting. I went and looked at the map, and I was over here. And the boss was like a whole world away over there, and there was a timer ticking down. I was like, I don't think I'll even make it there in time to get to him. Now, there is a great fast travel system in the game.
Yeah, you don't even need portal scrolls anymore.
No, you can just basically, at any point, just go to the map and choose any of the cities or towns that you've been to, and you can warp there immediately. And that's handy, for sure.
Big difference from going back to 1.
Yeah. Some of the checkpoints... Some of them are great. Like, sometimes you'll get a checkpoint and there's, a sub-boss fight or whatever. Other times, though, the final boss, if I closed it out and came back, I had to go, a mile or 2 to get back to that boss fight again. So, some of the checkpoints aren't especially generous. Those are things that are easy to tweak, though, and that might be something that Blizzard's going to work on before it comes out on June 2nd, I think is the release date.
Yes.
I remember. Something like that.
June 2nd or June 6th?
Yeah.
One of those.
Character creation... I was disappointed in it. That may be actually my biggest disappointment, Matt, was the character creation. You have 6 or 8 heads that you can choose from, and that's it.
Yeah.
You can't really customize your look and you can't get a character that looks like you if that's something that you're into.
It's not. But,
yeah,
but
I
also,
thought it was pretty weak.
It's Diablo.
Yeah.
It's also better than most games like this offer.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
Because you can't really look. You can't really see a character.
You should, though. You should be able to see him in the cutscenes, which you can't.
You can, but
You hardly ever see your character's face in cutscenes. So you're right. I guess it's why would we put so much work into something most people don't see? But
especially because, again, the majority of people who play this for the long haul, they make a character, they play through the ladder, they don't care.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Downtown CM Brown, great name, by the way, says, I'm tired of creating characters. I really don't care. Mm-hmm. Which is weird, because we went from you could never create a character to play in a game. Into now you can create one, but the option, and it just keeps getting better and better. And now we've come full circle to where Downtown CM Brown is I don't care anymore.
Yeah, if it's not super narrative driven, it doesn't really matter that much. I mean, at least you can choose some kind of options. You can choose skin color and gender,
the basics.
That's back as Diablo 2. It was just do you want to be a girl?
Yeah.
Barbarian? Too bad.
Yeah.
I think they added some of that later
on. Yeah.
But originally it was the class was what they were.
Remember in the first one, Matt, there weren't really classes.
Yeah, there was just rogue, warrior, and sorcerer.
But they're all pretty much the same.
Well, they started
different.
They started different. It was a little like Dark Souls. They started different, so you kind of were ahead of the game in magic or dexterity or strength. There were little things like almost imperceptible, like the rogue fires the bow with fewer frames, and the warrior swings melee weapons with fewer frames, and the sorcerer casts spells with fewer frames. So they actually do their specified thing slightly faster than the other classes do. But in general, if your magic is high enough, you can use any magic spell. If that was the big problem in Diablo 2 when they were making new classes and stuff. They're like, well, if we want to make them more specialized, if we want to have stuff that only the sorcerer can do, well, then everybody's gonna be finding sorcerer loot, and they're gonna be mad because they can't use it. And so the solution was the skill tree. So loot became universal, and the skill trees became where you got your specialized stuff, which makes a lot more sense than 1, because when you're playing 1 now, you're like, oh, right, if I want to learn any of these important spells, I have to get lucky enough to find a book.
Yeah.
Which takes up a giant amount of inventory space.
Yeah.
If you don't have the stats for it yet. So at some point, you're just walking around with Firewave in your inventory, for taking up 4 slots for it's a huge book, apparently.
Yeah.
It's a book the size of a sword. So, yeah, it's, or a shield. They take up the same amount of space as a shield. So, yeah, it's come a long way. But, you're not looking at Baldur's Gate 3 here in terms of character creation.
Yep. Just keep that in mind. It's not that big a deal, again, because you rarely ever see your character. Your character's so small on screen that it's not that big of a deal.
Clothing's way more important.
Yep, for sure. Any other criticisms that you have of the beta that you played? Keeping in mind that this is a beta and that some stuff should be wrong because the game's not done. Did you get a mount? I did not get a mount. I did not. Yeah, me either.
I don't think so. I mean,
I don't know how much you need one with the great fast travel system.
I mean, it's probably useful for exploration more than getting around places you've already been.
Yeah.
I don't really have any real complaint. I mean, yeah.
I thought it was pretty great, Matt.
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
I liked it a lot more than I expected to.
Me too. I got totally hooked on it and didn't want to stop. When I got to the end of the content for the beta, I was disappointed and sad. And I was like, now what? Because there's just not a lot of games coming out right now, let alone big, high-profile ones. And I'm very appreciative.
Resident Evil's in 2 days.
Well, yeah, but I'm not playing it right now. But I don't know. To me, I think its biggest new features didn't make much of an impact for me. Like the open world stuff didn't.
Well, we haven't seen all of that yet.
Because there's also, we haven't even talked about all the stuff that's coming. There's 150 different world events that are on the way, or something.
There's tons of world events, tons of world bosses, tons of strongholds. Which once you liberate them, they change your world map forever, and you can create new towns and new dungeons and open new quests. There's a lot. There's a lot in this game. All the traveling through all the zones is seamless. There's no jumping from one place to another like in the other games. It's all one big thing.
And there is no loading.
No loading. It's a different experience than the others have been. And I think in terms of progression and stuff, it feels more true to Diablo 2, which is good. In a lot of ways, I think this is the Diablo people were thinking Diablo 3 would be.
Yeah, because ultimately, Diablo 3 was passable, but it was kind of a disappointment at the end of it all. It still sold great, and people played it. The people are still playing it. Yeah. But for someone who just buys a Diablo or gets a Diablo and then just plays mostly through the campaign and doesn't get into the whole min-max and all that stuff, I thought it was passable, but not great. This already has set a much better first impression with me than Diablo 3 did. So if you like Diablo 3, I think you're going to really like Diablo 4. And just in general, just really, really enjoyed my time with it. I think it's going to deliver. I think fans are going to be happy with it. I think even casual folks like me who don't min-max and don't really dig into Diablo games are also going to love it because I already played almost 20 hours of this game. It was the first zone. So you're talking about value for what you spend on games. You're looking at a lot of value from Diablo 4. So I'm impressed with it. Are you going to play I'm probably not going to be able to play the second beta because I'm going to be playing the crap out of Resident Evil 4. Maybe I'll find a little time.
I will poke at the Necromancer a bit just to see.
It's a good idea. Maybe I'll do that too. Just give it a whirl. And it looks like most people, you guys in chat, are also really excited about the Necromancer more than anything. Downtown CM Brown says, I've liked all the Diablos, so this is going to be my summer game. Yeah, I mean, you can get this at June 2nd and play it until the end of August easily. You could definitely make it through the whole summer. People saying Diablo 3 was fun. Yeah, I mean, I think they've all been fun, for sure. Eric Carmenez, would you be my shepherd in the world of Diablo? I've never played. We absolutely will. Again, if you get it, join the Sifted Clan and we can all play together and we'll take you out on adventures and we'll show you the ropes. It's not that hard. Like, I do feel like this is a genre that a lot of people get intimidated by.
Well, some of them are very hard.
You mean like difficulty or like hard to learn all the systems?
Difficulty.
Oh, okay.
Like there's
challenging.
Yeah, and the systems are difficult in the sense that, like, you know, especially the earlier ones, like, that didn't have a respec necessarily. You know, there were ways to build your character that would break them.
Well, we should have mentioned that, the respec in this.
And they wouldn't, you know, it could end up with a non-viable character for endgame stuff.
And that'll never happen here.
No.
Because you can respec at any time. Everything. You can just completely trash your whole skill tree. And the skill trees are gigantic. We should have mentioned how they work, actually. So the skill trees has like 6 nodes. Is that right?
It's different for each character.
Oh, it is? Okay. So it has like 6 to 10 nodes would be my guess. And then each one of those nodes corresponds to one of the buttons on the controller. So it's like R1, R2, face buttons, etc. And how the tree works is, as you add skills in one of the nodes...
Well, also, the PC version has controller support.
Okay.
So that should be noted as well. Because Diablo 3 never got that.
Okay. So as you add skills in one node, a bloodline, literally, runs from that node to the next one. So you have to get like 3 upgrades in one node before you can go to the next one. And you can only assign one attack from that node to a button. So ultimately, there was as many buttons, or there was as many nodes as there were buttons on the controller. But you can't have 2 abilities from the same node on your active.
And they all kind of do a similar thing.
Right. Yeah. Each node they kind of
like
do
the sorceress's first node is like basic projectile.
Right.
And you can pick like
you can choose whether you want fire.
You can pick fire, lightning, ice.
Yeah.
And something else I can't remember.
Yeah.
And then her second node is a big ball that explodes, and you can pick a fireball or an ice ball or a lightning ball. I think there's a poison ball maybe. But like that's your second thing.
Yeah.
And then and
then
you have a shield.
The
third node I think is a shield, of an elemental shield of whatever element you choose. They're all sort of... It's not super different from Diablo 3's sort of little skill tree sort of
slider
thing, but you have to commit.
Yep. But
you have to spend gold to respec.
But it's not that much. So
because you can respec individual skills, not the whole character if you want.
You can respec the whole thing too if you want, though.
You can, but it'll cost more.
Isn't that much though?
It's sliding, so by the time you get higher level, it will cost a ton.
So I got to the final boss. I fought him a bunch of times. I couldn't beat him, and then it occurred to me, I'm like, what am I doing? Because like 2 of my abilities weren't doing anything to him. So I was like, this is worthless. Like I wish I could respec it. I'm like, I can. So I was like, I'll just wipe everything out and then just respec my character based upon what I've seen do damage to the boss. The problem was, by the time I got back there and went to respec, the beta ended. So I wasn't able to fight the boss with the new skill tree that I was going to set up. So, but you can, and it did not. I wiped everything, Matt, and I think it was like 140 gold or something like that for the whole thing. So at least at that point, 15 to 20 hours in, it wasn't that expensive to respec at all.
Somebody did like a max level, like level 20. I think 25 is the cap, and they did that. It was like a third of all their gold.
Oh, for me, it was like nothing.
It's a sliding scale, basically.
Yep. So if you want to respec, you can respec the whole thing, and it just costs you gold. And for me, at least, it didn't cost all that much.
And there are people who probably will dislike that in comparison to Diablo 3, where you just click some buttons and do it for free. But for some reason, I do like the idea of having to commit to build the character a certain way.
Yeah. I thought the trees and everything were great. I thought they were intuitive. I thought they made sense.
And then there's the Paragon system, which we haven't even been able to get into
yet,
because that doesn't unlock until 50.
Yeah. So if you look for value in the games that you buy, put this one on your calendar. And again, it's coming to everything. We haven't seen have we seen it running on PS4 and Xbox One yet?
I haven't.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work out, but it's coming to those platforms. So it's coming to everything but Switch, pretty much. So if you are a player, you should be able to play it. And based upon what I've seen, I'll give it a big thumbs up. What about you, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah. Really good. And you guys are going to be able to find out for yourselves as well this weekend. Although you're probably going to be playing RE4 as well. So you're going to have to split up your time this weekend between Diablo and the Resident Evil 4 remake. It's a good problem to have. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about something that got me really pissed off last year. Last year, right around this same time, the Video Game Hall of Fame announced its nominees for induction for 2022. And we went back and we looked at the prior year, and what we found was that it was a completely different list of nominees, and they chose their winners from that, and then those nominees that didn't win that year did not become nominees the following year. And I thought that was insane. I still think it's insane. So, again, it's popped up that they announced this week, the nominees for the Video Game Hall of Fame. And once again, they've done the same thing, Matt. They have not... Any of the nominees that didn't win last year, it's like they no longer exist. None of them carried over and are now nominees for 2023. It's insane.
Oh, maybe they'll circle back with like a loser's bracket one year.
I think what's happened, Matt, is that they waited so long to start doing the Video Game Hall of Fame that it's like they're trying to play catch up. And they're like, this industry's been around for 40 years, but we only have like 10 years of Hall of Fame winners.
But it's also just like, well, if the other things that didn't win were popular, they would have won. So let's put new things in and see if they're popular.
Well, let's go through this. So let's go through last year first before we get to this year, just so you can kind of get where I'm coming from. Last year's nominees were Assassin's Creed, Candy Crush, DDR, Ocarina of Time, Minesweeper, Miss Pac-Man, NBA Jam, Parappa the Rapper, Resident Evil, just the franchise, Sid Meier's Civilization, and Words with Friends. And then the winners were Miss Pac-Man, DDR, Ocarina of Time, and Civilization. So all those other games that were nominees have not become nominees for this year. So let me just go through those real quick to your point of they shouldn't be considered again. Assassin's Creed, it should never be considered.
I don't think anyone would say never, but just...
NBA Jam, Resident Evil.
You should also remember that this doesn't matter at all.
What do you mean?
The Video Game Hall of... Who cares?
Well, why does anyone care about any Hall of Fame?
Good question.
They do.
Good question.
Because people just do. They like to write things.
Well, also they care. Well, they care about, like, say, the Baseball Hall of Fame, because you go see it in Cooperstown and go hang. It's like it's a whole thing. It's the history of the sport. You're honoring these players. Like these are video games.
No, this isn't. There's an actual museum that does it.
Yeah, but who knows that? Who goes to it's not a destination. It's not a. I mean, I know they've inducted actual human beings, developers at times. I think they did I think I was at the first one where they inducted, I think, the Pac-Man guy, creator of Pac-Man. But it's just, there's no, I mean, I'm sure Assassin's Creed will be okay if it's not inducted into the Video Game Hall of Fame. At a certain point, you could argue that almost anything that sold well should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't think it matters that much.
No, but it does. Or it wouldn't
why?
exist. So there's a physical museum that people go to, and every year's
Is it still in the Metreon?
No. It has its own standalone thing now.
Where is it now?
I can't remember. I went and looked it up.
That's kind of my point. You don't even know where it is.
I don't, actually. You're
right.
It
used to be like, there used to be like a Games of Fame. Maybe that was a different thing. Maybe it was Games of Fame.
That sounds familiar.
You remember this at the Metreon? It was like the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but they put like plinths in like kind of that walkway on the second floor up near the airtight garage.
Right,
and they had,
that's right.
It was like it had the pitfall guy running on it, kind of thing. You remember that?
What did they do with that building when Sony moved out of it?
I don't remember. I haven't been. I mean,
you can't really repurpose it for anything.
I don't know.
Had to gut it, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, did they turn it into something? I haven't driven past that.
I haven't been in San Francisco in a long time. It's been like 8 years since I've been.
And when I am, I try not to go near there. So the Metro, there's nothing there anymore. It's just, it's that used to be sort of a little nightlife place, but like it just all once the Metreon went away, it all collapsed.
Yeah.
But I remember that being like okay, because that was the thing. Maybe it was because Adam hosted that first year.
He hosted the show there.
Yeah.
The arcade there is where we did raps for extended
that too.
play.
Yeah. The airtight garage.
Yeah.
The Mobius themed arcade with all the weird esoteric games.
Yeah.
Yep. But there was like it was the Games of Fame, Walk of Game. That's what they called it.
That's what it was.
Walk of Game.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it was. So anyway, now you kind of have an idea where the Video Game Hall of Fame is coming from. They're kind of standing on shaky ground. So with that in mind, here are the nominees. And so what we're going to do is we're going to announce the nominees, and then Matt and I are going to pick the 4 that we think should win. First up, Wii Sports. Do you think it deserves a nod?
I mean, no, but probably. Like, I don't care.
I think it does.
I don't care about Wii Sports, but it's probably one of the most played games in history.
Right. It transcended games. I mean, it became a phenomenon.
I mean, I would argue at least half the Wii's sold never played anything else.
Yeah. There was a whole console that was very successful based upon this one game, which is pretty insane to think about, honestly. So I think it's a worthy nominee. Do you agree with that?
Sure.
Okay. Next up, GoldenEye 007.
Yeah.
Yeah. It deserves it.
Sure.
First console shooter to use 4 controller ports. First console shooter, really, to have multiplayer play that was worth anything. First good console 3D shooter ever released. So I think it belongs as a nominee, at least.
I think Medal of Honor was pretty good.
You would put Medal of Honor in before GoldenEye?
No, I mean, in terms of first good 3D console shooter, I think there were a couple decent ones. But this definitely took it to another level. I remember being very surprised by how robust it was the first time I loaded. I got it just because I'm like, I like James Bond. It's probably fine. And then I loaded it. I'm like, oh, this is really good.
Yeah,
I was like,
I think everyone was pleasantly surprised. Because it also had been delayed a bunch.
Yeah.
Before it finally came out.
I mean,
it's a rare game, and every rare game was delayed.
It was coming out 3 years after the movie it was based on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A little weird. Yep. I think it belongs as a nominee. So that's 2 for 2 for me. Next up, Age of Empires.
Yeah. I can see that on a list of
So this is getting to the point
games.
where I was making where it's like, they waited so long to do the Hall of Fame that there are literally like 50 games that are worthy of being in the Hall of Fame right now.
Right, but also like this is a timely pick because Age of Empires 4 is a thing now, and Age of Empires has been re-released and all the definitive. Like Age of Empires is back as a franchise. GoldenEye just got re-released and all that. Like there's definitely some timeliness in play here for some of these.
And here's where they start to get a little weird, Matt. So the next nominee, I would argue that Age of Empires is a worthy nominee, by the way.
Yeah.
Here's this one, though, I don't know.
Certainly it's one of the top, that Command and Conquer and Warcraft are really, or StarCraft.
And how do you choose which of those 3? That's tough.
I mean, you don't. You just put them on a different list. And
you just assume they're not going to win.
Are Warcraft and StarCraft already in there? From previous years?
I don't know. I don't have a definitive list of all the ones that are in there yet. I should have probably.
Because nobody cares.
I should have put that together. It's just a lot of work to go through there because their website's not great.
Oh, I'm shocked.
I mean, the website's nice. It's just the way it's organized. It's hard to find, like, the history of the awards.
You'd think that would be kind of forefront in terms of...
you would think so.
Yeah, the list of Hall of Famers would
Instead, I had to go through their press release pages.
Ugh.
Like, tab after tab
That's
of all
ridiculous.
their press releases to find, like, who won and, like, who was nominated.
There's no just list of Hall of Fame inductees anywhere?
No, I could not find that there at all.
That seems rather basic.
Yeah, low-hanging fruit, you'd think. Yep. These next couple, though...
It's almost as if it isn't real.
These next couple are tough inclusions. Angry Birds.
I mean, they seem to do one mobile game every year these days. Like, 'cause there was one in the last one. Words with Friends was the one in the other list. So, yeah, I mean, Angry Birds, if you're going to put mobile games in somewhere, I'd say Angry Birds goes up there with Fruit Ninja and
I guess
those games that everybody...
Angry Birds is closed, by the way, permanently. It's done.
Well, Angry Birds 2 isn't.
No, they all are.
All are?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
Like 2 weeks ago?
That was just the first one.
Maybe
that was just the first one. That was all the controversy over that. Was they
ended? They ended the
franchise. No, they ended the first one and people freaked out.
Oh,
so they brought back some limited thing.
That I haven't
or something.
played in like 20 years.
No, there's still Angry Birds. It's still on my phone somewhere. The Star Wars one somewhere. I haven't opened it in years, but like,
wow, I deleted it long ago.
No, Angry Birds is Angry Birds.
So you think it's worthy of a nomination?
Much as Wii Sports is, yeah.
Really?
I bet more people played Angry Birds than played Wii Sports.
That's a good question, actually. You're probably right. It's close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Next, Barbie fashion designer.
That is there because the Barbie movie is coming out this summer.
You really think so?
Yeah. The timing of that is suspect to me. That's because Barbie's about to be a phenomenon.
Every once in a while,
comes out the same day as the Oppenheimer movie. That's amazing.
Every once in a while, they'll put something in here that it's like a game that Carmen Sandiego was in 1 year was one of the nominees.
I say that fits.
And like a lot, like I didn't play
better
it as a
than this
kid.
one.
Like I didn't realize that a lot of schools had people playing that game as like an edutainment title. I didn't have that in my school.
There's a North Dakota one that was commissioned by North Dakota. It's just North Dakota geography and history.
They always have one of these games where I'm like, I never played it, and then I'll ask somebody, they'll be like, oh, I played the living crap out of that. So this feels like maybe young girls played it. I just had no clue.
I mean, somewhat. I mean, I'm a little surprised it's fashion designer and not horse adventure.
Right? You guys remember that one, Barbie Horse Adventure?
The horse subgenre.
One of the all-time worst games ever released.
Yeah, but there was a bunch of those. There's a bunch of those like horse raising, like horse girl games.
That one was real bad. We had a field day with that one. So anyway, Barbie fashion designer is one of them. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare.
I mean, sure, probably the game that created the modern first-person shooter template probably should be in there.
Yeah, I guess so. This to me is borderline.
It's weird to me that this is Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare and not like just Call of Duty as a franchise, because all the other things seem to be franchises.
Yeah,
Why are they singling out one game?
It feels like there's been, because they want to keep giving it to Call of Duty
over and over again.
Yeah.
Or maybe they already gave it to Call of Duty and they wanted to.
And they want to keep giving it to him.
I have a hard time believing Call of Duty wouldn't have been in the first year's nominees.
There's some shady stuff going on there. Agreed. With Call of Duty 4 Modern, there's something shady going on there. Because the very next one, Matt, by the way, is very much like that because it's FIFA.
It's just FIFA.
It's just FIFA. FIFA Soccer. That's it. It's like a franchise. Resident Evil was just a franchise. They didn't pick a specific Resident Evil. So yeah, FIFA Soccer. Yeah, I would say that probably deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
One of the most played games every year, best-selling games every year. It certainly is the pinnacle of video game soccer, video game football. It probably deserves to be on there. And they've been doing it for a long time, and it has been good all along. FIFA has never really sucked, like, ever.
Well, we'll see what happens.
What?
Well, now that they're out of EA's and
well, now it's not
thing
licensed FIFA. Well, now you're right, because someone else is going to pick it up.
Yeah.
And it could suck.
So now is the right time to try to get that in the Hall of Fame.
You're right, because you're right. They have like a 1-year window to get this award in before someone else takes it over, and it could suck.
Yeah, it's either going to probably be really good or really bad.
Yep.
We'll see.
So to your point about some of these are timely, the next one is The Last of Us. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that being in the Video Game Hall of Fame? I say no.
I could not possibly care less, but sure, why not?
Really? Yeah.
I mean, it's an all-timer. It's going to be referenced in video game history things forever now because it's going to be the template for how you adapt a video game into another medium. It tracks as much as anything.
As much as anything? No way. You have games that build a genre, started a genre. It's not equal footing.
Don't care. This is one of the most important. This is one of the most important games of its generation because of the impact it's going to have.
Look, it has a great story, and if there's anything that it does better than any other game, it's storytelling and creating characters, a believable world. There are things that it does better than any other game for sure, but I feel like you have to split hairs to make this a Hall of Fame game.
I don't. I mean, if you're already nominating Barbie fashion designer,
touche.
Clearly, the bar's not that high.
Well, I mean, look, okay. In context of the other nominees, I could argue any game could be a nominee.
Now you're getting it.
But I'm not looking at this I'm looking at the context of like my experience having played these games.
Mm. Well, they're not looking at it in terms of just how you played the games. They're looking at it in terms of the importance of the game to the medium, and in terms of that, Last of Us is top echelon because of what just happened with HBO.
Well, the more we go through this, it feels like they're putting games on this list because they have interest in pop culture. Like, it really doesn't feel like they're trying to create a definitive Hall of Fame list here.
Which, again, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a serious endeavor.
Yep.
And never has been.
And then, after The Last of Us, NBA 2K.
Also, I'm assuming they mean that as a franchise, not just the first Last of Us.
I don't know, actually.
Well,
it's just The Last of Us.
The only thing they're calling out as an individual game seems to be Call of Duty 4.
Yeah.
And I guess GoldenEye 007, but like I can see why you'd want to specifically be saying GoldenEye and not all James Bond games because those are two very different things.
They are, yeah. Well, it's also because they've been made by different developers.
Yeah, there's no consistency there.
Right.
So like calling that out is one thing. Calling out one Call of Duty game is weird.
Yep.
So I would assume all of these are supposed to be franchises other than Call of Duty.
Yep. Much like FIFA, NBA 2K, the definitive basketball simulation.
Sure.
If FIFA's in there, I feel like this game probably deserves to be in there. I believe Madden's already in. And then they'll be done, because they're not going to induct a hockey game. I can tell you that already.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, I think that'll be it for the sports run. And then after NBA 2K, Quake. This, I'm assuming, is a franchise thing.
It'd have to be franchise.
This, to me, definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, yeah, kind of, certainly in terms of trailblazing.
Yeah. Certainly more worthy than some of the other games in this list of nominees. And then the last nominee, and I'm surprised that this is in here, and I think this is like people like us finally having some influence on this list, is Wizardry. Which most of you guys probably don't even know what Wizardry is, but it was a wireframe, almost like a Vectrex style, wireframe 3D dungeon crawler RPG.
The first one was,
Yeah.
And then they became more pixel art as time went on.
The wireframe one, me and my friends, we played that. It was so hard. It was maybe the first Dark Souls, actually.
I mean, it's the first party-based RPG game.
It was so hard. It took forever, because back then the PCs were so clunky. Like, if you died, it took 8 minutes to reload the game, and you had to want it to play Wizardry. And I had a friend who had it, and he and I and 2 other of our friends would just sit around his PC trying to play that game. We would get to there was this one wizard who would wipe us out, and we never beat him. He'd show up, he'd cast 2 spells and wipe us out, and there's no guides back then. There was even no one to talk to, because playing games back then was so niche. There was nobody else playing Wizardry that we knew. There was no one to ask for help, and we just never beat the guy. It's still to this day, I've never beat that wizard, which is pretty crazy to think about. So do you think Wizardry is worthy? I think it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's classic.
Wizardry 3 is the reason JRPGs exist.
Yeah.
All of JRPG, as you think of Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy, they're based on Wizardry 3.
Yeah.
That's where all the trope, the basic tropes and basic game mechanic ideas of early console JRPGs comes from.
Yeah.
And obviously they've evolved a lot since then, but Wizardry still has a huge following in Japan. Wizardry 8 or 9 were the last one that did very well in Japan. It's there. That's a very, very important series.
Yep. Okay, so of those nominees, and I'll go through them very quickly again: Wii Sports, GoldenEye, Age of Empires, Angry Birds, Barbie Fashion Designer, Call of Duty 4, FIFA, The Last of Us, NBA 2K, Quake, and Wizardry. Of all those nominees, we now need to pick 4 winners. I'll go through mine right now. I can do it very quickly. I'm going to go GoldenEye 007, FIFA, NBA 2K.
How are we picking these? For our own?
Yeah, our personal picks. Yeah, and my last one comes down to either Quake or Wizardry. I'm gonna go Wizardry. I just think it's more innovative. So those are my 4: GoldenEye, FIFA, NBA 2K, and Wizardry. What about you, Matt? And you guys can feel free to pick your 4 as well if you want to in the chat. We'll look at them and see what you guys say.
Do-over for me. I'll say GoldenEye. I'll say GoldenEye, Age of Empires, Call of Duty 4, and Last of Us.
Okay.
Quake was never that important to me.
Yeah. It wasn't important to me, but I think it was pretty important.
Oh, it's very important.
Yeah.
Quake was never my preferred. I always liked Unreal better.
Okay. That's totally fair, by the way.
I was an Unreal.
Or Doom.
And Doom. Well, Doom also. I was a marathon kid. So.
Okay.
Because I had a Mac.
Yeah.
But no, the id games never really grabbed me. They're just too slippery and fast for me. I was more interested in sort of the environments and the storytelling to some degree, which Unreal and especially Marathon did more. I even liked Unreal Tournament more than Quake 3 when that big fight came
that was
up.
Thing.
I'm sorry, Quake 3 had nothing that matched Facing Worlds.
Yeah.
That was just a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I liked Wizardry, but Wizardry was just, I didn't have access to a lot of it because I didn't have an IBM PC back in the day. And those games were largely too hard to be fun
hard
to
as
me.
Balls, yeah. Yep, they just kept us coming back for
I played Ultima more than that.
Yeah.
Because Might and Magic, I think the Might and Magic games were more, they were evolutions of Wizardry, the party-based RPG, and they worked a little smoother.
Back when games used to come on floppy disks this big and you get 10 of them. You have to keep taking them out and putting them in. Took forever to boot anything. So between you and I, we only had one game that we agreed on, and that was GoldenEye 007, which means that guaranteed it's not going to make it.
So it's voted on by like just internet people?
Yeah, it's like just...
I think GoldenEye will make that.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yep. So Matt and I only had GoldenEye in common, which I think maybe shows that they maybe did a decent job picking the nominees. But again, you can go back to last year's nominees, and there's still like 5 or 6 games on that list that I'm like, yeah, those should be in there as well. And it is weird that they're not recycling these games, again, because I think they've jumped on this so late that... They're just like, man.
Well, I think they're just trying to get new people involved in each one. You know, there's like
new communities
new communities, new developers, new publishers. Like I think that's what that is.
Yeah, probably. Let's see if any of you guys picked your winners. Okay, here we go.
Chat's saying they do recycle them. That it takes several years before they go into the holdover nominees. They do recycle them, says Veritas.
Every few years? I mean, does that matter? Like if it's every few years?
I mean, none of it matters. It's a completely pointless thing.
Let's see. Erebus Jones, Age of Empires, GoldenEye, Quake, and Call of Duty 4. So his was actually like a mashup of the two of us, basically. Kevin Rafa, FIFA, NBA, Wii Sports, and Last of Us. Okay. Downtown CM Brown, Last of Us, Quake, Call of Duty 4, GoldenEye. Lots of Call of Duty 4, so people have a different perspective on that than I do. Swan Senpai, The Last of Us, FIFA, Wii Sports, and I forget the rest. Ed Rock, the truth is a hardcore FIFA player. The game hasn't been good, especially next-gen version. Yeah, I mean, look, you're going to argue that it hasn't been good. It sells 20 million every year, and half of those people think it's amazing. So, I mean, it is what it is. God of Gamblers 33, Angry Birds, interesting. Last of Us, Wii Sports, and Call of Duty 4. Vortex Complex, I'm going to vote for Wii Sports for the GOAT. Wow. That's a lot of faith. Very Gooster.
I mean, I can kind of see that out of that list.
Yeah?
Not greatest of all time, of everything.
Of that list, you mean?
But of that list, like, I mean, that thing was a juggernaut. Like, people used to carry Wiimotes around with them out when they went out in case we all ended up somewhere playing Wii Sports.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, it was a cultural shift.
Yeah. Look, I think it's generational.
I don't like the game that much, but it was like, you can't deny that. I think a lot of it's generational.
It's how old you are. Like, most people who are watching this right now or on our stream weren't even maybe alive when Wizardry came out. Like, I mean, that's what a lot of it comes down to.
And I'm not saying go play Wizardry right now. Like, that's a...
It's hard to
you want to ruin your afternoon.
We're not saying game of the year. Like,
we didn't know any better.
Yeah, there's a lot more Angry Birds in here than I thought. Look, God of Gambler says it. Very Gooster has Angry Birds. I'm surprised.
I mean, Angry Birds. Like, I wouldn't pick it for like my personal favorite, but like it was an important game. I'd say it's one of the 3 original like mobile games everybody played, along with Words with Friends and Fruit Ninja.
Yeah. Very Gooster. We all have those Wii Sports stories. Basically, we do, because it wasn't just us. It was like it crossed over.
Yeah.
Into mainstream, like big time.
It's just like the Rock Band stories. It's like it was of a time.
Yeah.
It was that moment.
Yeah.
And now there's no equivalent.
No. I was glad I was there for it, though. It was a lot of fun when it lasted. Barry Lomax, I was -8 when Wizardry came out. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's what I thought.
And to be clear, the first Wizardry that you should even attempt to touch is 3.
Yeah.
Like, Wizardry 1 is... You don't even know what you're looking at. It's like Ultima 1. You're like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's supposed to... What?
And the end game is to build a space shuttle?
Yeah.
And now I'm fighting TIE fighters? Like, what? Ultima 1 is a trip, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very different thing.
Yeah. So I think that one it shows that, just looking at your responses and Matt's responses and a lot of it just depends on when you grew up, who you're hanging around with, what games were your friends playing, what games were your friends not playing, what social groups were you hanging around with, were they anti-PlayStation, were they anti-Nintendo, were they anti-Sega, like all that stuff plays into what ultimately we believe should be the best games of all time, which result in games making it into the Hall of Fame. So I would run the Video Game Hall of Fame way different than the way they're running it now. Because, let's be honest,
put a list of the Hall of Fame inductees on your website?
Yeah. Because to Matt's point, if somebody like Matt doesn't think that it matters, they're doing something wrong. Yeah. They're doing something very wrong. That's just all there is to it. If you have someone who loves games as much as Matt does, who thinks the Video Game Hall of Fame is irrelevant, that's a bad sign. So, year 2, I'm complaining about the Video Game Hall of Fame once again. But I do think it is a fun exercise to kind of go through these games, figure out which ones really resonated with us personally based upon our life experiences and what our personal interests are, and see if they line up with theirs. And generally, I think they do, because, again, there are so many great games out there that still haven't been recognized for this. So, my guess is for the next 20 or 30 years, they're going to have viable entries. Like, for example, like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Matt, for a lot of people, like, it's run out of steam.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it isn't, because I like alternative music. Like, a lot of my favorite bands still haven't made it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. New Order and Joy Division still aren't in there, although I think they may have just been nominated this year. But there's literally hundreds of bands that I love and worship that will never make it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Okay, so for instance, Angry Birds was nominated the first year they ever did this.
So what year was that?
Did not win. That was 2015.
Okay, so it took 8 years for it to come back around.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Okay, so 2015, Doom. The winners were Doom, Pac-Man, Pong, Mario Brothers, Tetris, and World of Warcraft. And then there were holdover finalists for the second year, which was Zelda, Oregon Trail, The Sims, Sonic, Space Invaders, Minecraft, Pokemon Red and Green. And the new ones for that year were Grand Theft Auto 3, Elite, Final Fantasy, John Madden, Nürburgring, Sid Meier's Civilization, Street Fighter 2. So there are holdovers every year. I don't know if there are this year.
But it takes years and years for them to come back into the...
It can. Early on, they were just cycling over. So the holdovers this year are Angry Birds, FIFA, GoldenEye, NBA 2K, and Wii Sports, who have all been nominated before.
What year were they nominated?
I'm looking. NBA 2K was first nominated in 2019.
Oh, so it hasn't been that long. 4 years.
GoldenEye was first nominated in 2020.
That's only 3 years. Okay, so they're doing better than I thought then.
Call of Duty has been nominated several times and has never won. So
Has it always been Modern Warfare?
No. So in 2018, Call of Duty was
franchise.
nominated. And then it was renominated in 2021. 2021?
I mean, they'd be smart to have it
along with
year.
FIFA. FIFA was renominated in 2021.
Okay.
They both didn't win. And then...
It really seems like there's no rhyme or reason to it at all.
Not really.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
I'm trying to find where Wii Sports was.
It's all willy-nilly.
Wii Sports is a holdover, apparently, but I don't see it. Wii Sports was originally nominated in 2017.
Okay. So it's just random.
There doesn't seem to be any
no
kind
rhyme
of...
or reason to any
maybe
of it.
there's an internal voting process or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, the actual Hall of Fame is Space War, The Oregon Trail, Pong, Colossal Cave Adventure, Space Invaders, Pac-Man, Centipede, Donkey Kong, Ms. Pac-Man, Microsoft Flight Simulator, King's Quest, Tetris, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, Super Mario Brothers, The Legend of Zelda, Microsoft Solitaire, John Madden Football, Street Fighter 2, Sonic the Hedgehog, Sid Meier's Civilization, Super Mario Kart, Mortal Kombat, Doom, Pokemon Red and Green or Blue, Tomb Raider, Final Fantasy VII, specific game, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, specific game, StarCraft, Dance Dance Revolution, The Sims, Animal Crossing, Bejeweled, Grand Theft Auto 3, specific game, Halo, World of Warcraft, and Minecraft. The most recent game, that was in order of release, not order of induction.
Yeah.
So the most recent game in the Hall of Fame is Minecraft 2011.
Yeah. So there's no reason.
So this would make Last of Us the most recent game, because that's 2013.
Yeah. If it wins. If it
were to get in, yeah.
Interesting. So it's all over the place. It doesn't seem like there's any rhyme or reason to how they're doing things over there.
No.
Still a fun exercise, I think.
And the original winners for the first year were Doom, Pac-Man, Pong, Mario Brothers, Tetris, and World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good
I mean, it's a solid list. Kind of a pretty good mix of classics and...
Yeah, there's nothing that really
There's
stood
only
out.
one game on all the nominees I've never heard of, and that is Nürburgring.
Which I'm guessing is a racing game.
Which is a racing game from 1976.
Wow. I've never heard of that game.
It's an arcade game.
Wow. But it didn't win. It was just a nominee, right?
No, it was just nominated.
Yeah.
And it was the inspiration for Night Driver. I know Night Driver.
Yeah. Interesting.
Look at that thing.
Wow.
This is an arcade game as old as I am.
That's crazy.
I played a pinball game as old as I am over the weekend. I was at a pinball bar, and they had Elton John an Elton John pinball machine from 1976.
No way.
And it was
it called like Rocket Man or something?
No, it was. I'll have to look at it. I have to find the picture. I took a picture of it because it was Captain Fantastic.
Oh, okay.
It's him. The thing that I thought was very amusing is so it's him in his
crazy outfit,
his crazy outfit, and his boots, and all that, and. You look down at the board, and all the bumper targets are like girls making boob jokes, and it's like buzz them buzzers, champ, feel them bumpers, and it's all like cartoon boobs hanging over the board.
Irony.
And I'm like, okay.
You think he signed off on that?
I don't know if he was. It was 1976. Was he even sober enough to sign off on it? I don't know. Rock That's stars, hilarious. Man. They didn't. It's like sure. The thing I did like about it is it had a mechanical scoreboard. It has the rollovers go.
Turn, yeah.
I enjoy that.
Sweet. Anyway, there you go. Those are this year's Hall of Fame nominees. We'll follow up next whenever they announce the winners, and we'll just mention it in like the housekeeping at the early part of the show. But there you go. Those are the games that are up for nominations for this year. Next up, we're going to talk about what ultimately has turned out to me, or for me, to be one of the most pleasant surprises of 2023 so far. And I know it's early, and there may be more. But so far, this is probably the most pleasant surprise for me, maybe other than PlayStation VR2, of the year. And that game is Bayonetta Origins. And that's really the part you need to remember. Yeah.
Because you were not interested in this at all.
Yep. Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon. It is and I'll just get the B-roll going now because the pictures will speak a million words. It is an indie-ish styled origin story for Bayonetta that basically explains how she grew up, how she became a witch, how she became who she was, but the genre of the game is entirely different and, in all honesty, unique. So the first thing I'm going to say before I start talking about this game is I have never really been that interested in being a game developer, but in the back of my mind, I've had a couple ideas for games that have been kicking around in my brain for years and years. And one of them, this game does. So one of the games that I've had in my mind for forever is a game where you fight animals, basically. You control two characters at once. You have a human that you control with the left side of the controller, and then the animal that you control with the right side of the controller. When I first came up with the idea for this game, it was during the GameCube era, where you had the GameCube triggers where you could squeeze it and you get one function, and then click it to get another function. And so my idea was you control the human with the left analog stick. Both the human and the animal had attacks, but they were very simple, but just two apiece. So one human attack, you could just hold the trigger, and the second human attack, you click it. Same with the animal on the right. And then the human and the animal are tethered together based upon, with a leash. And you could use that leash a little bit like, what was the Platinum game?
Astral Chain?
A little bit like Astral Chain, where you could also use the tether between the human and the animal to kind of clothesline enemies. And so that was my idea. That is what this game is. It is a game where you control two characters at the same time. One of them, which is Bayonetta, is mapped to the left side of the controller, and the other one, which is the demon, is mapped to the right side of the controller. And each one of them has their own abilities. Now, they're not tethered together like my idea was with the leash. But it's this thing where you have to... It takes a while for your brain to accept it and work around it. It's kind of like learning how to play the drums in Rock Band. Like, you can't get your foot and your hands working at the same time, and then suddenly one day, you can. And that's the way it was playing this game. The first hour or two I played this, it was so weird because you're controlling two characters at once, and they're kind of opposite each other. And so, at first, like, I would be able to control one, but the other one would just, like, run off of the screen. After, like, an hour and a half, though, I got to the point where I could really control both characters at the same time. And the game does a masterful job of building the challenges as you go through the game so that at first you can be that idiot who's only controlling one and the other one is running off the screen. But as you get better at it and your brain learns to acclimate to it, they start giving you challenges where you literally have to control both characters at the same time and do intricate inputs and movements with each character separately at the same time. It is a revelation. It's not for everybody. I can see a lot of people picking this game up and in the first hour being like, what the hell? My brain is like bending.
So is this more like intricate than like Brothers?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Like as far as like, so that's the other analog to this game, Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. Is that the subtitle? Tale of Two Sons? It's that way in that you're working together and like there's lots of puzzles where one of them stands on this plate while the other one goes and does their thing and then stands on that plate and then that raises up the elevator. But this game is more about controlling them both at the same time simultaneously than Brothers was. Brothers had that, but this game, after the first hour and a half, that's pretty much the whole game. And so I was pleasantly surprised by this game. Now, the story, the way the story is told and how long it takes to get through some of the story segments, it feels like it's made for kids at times. Like the writing is like very Nintendo-y, very PC. It doesn't really align with the Bayonetta franchise all that much. What it feels like is that Platinum had the idea and they're like, we don't know like what to slap on this. Oh, well, Bayonetta might work. It probably works better than our other IP. That's what it feels like to me.
I mean, it would certainly get you funding quicker than
just
like
generic
a new IP.
Right, yeah. And so
nothing about this really seems like it needs to be Bayonetta.
No, it doesn't. You're right, though. It will help build interest in it. But generally, you're right. Like, it could have been anybody. And the origin story of Bayonetta, as it turns out, is not all that interesting. Like, her mother she's a witch. But her mother basically...
Her sister was a witch. Wicked Witch of the East, bro.
Well, her mother was a witch, and she did the dirty with this other race. And so Bayonetta is the first, like, hybrid being between witch and this other species.
She wore a crown and came down in a bubble, Doug. Come on, bro.
And so she's
Grow up.
She's kind of been ostracized. Her mom has been captured and is like been taken away. So the whole goal of the game is to find your mom. And since your mom has disappeared, there's this other woman who's like been taking care of you and mentoring you and turning you into a witch and teaching you about your mom and your dad and blah, blah, blah. And she's very overbearing. And there's this hidden forest that you're never supposed to go into. But of course, you get in a little argument with your babysitter. And you're like, well, screw her. I'm going into the hidden forest. And that's how the whole game starts.
All this magic and nobody can fix eyesight.
Yeah. That's true. So anyway, you play as Bayonetta with the left side of the controller. You play as the demon, which you're seeing now on the right side of the controller. And the demon handles all your combat, while Bayonetta handles all the magic. So you saw earlier, there's like these little things that pop up, and there's like this little music and rhythm game that you play. That's what you do with Bayonetta. Like, she can bring things to life. She can, like, reconstruct bridges across gaps. And during combat, she can bind the enemy. So vines will come up from the ground and will hold the enemy in place. Then you bring the demon over to dole out all the damage and sort of win the skirmish or whatever. Bayonetta herself really has very limited ability in combat. Like, you really have to rely on the demon to do all the heavy lifting as far as combat is concerned. Bayonetta is more for the puzzle solving and the puzzle platforming. Because really, this is a puzzle platformer more than anything. Like, you are trying to figure out how to use the abilities of the two different characters separately to build a bridge or to unlock this platform or to raise or to lower platforms or to make the vines go away, to open up a new area. Bayonetta also has this ability to go into like an alternate reality. So she'll go into this reality where things change, and then she has a spell that she can use to make stuff appear that shouldn't be appearing in those worlds, and that opens up a whole other section of puzzle solving. Her demon's name is Cheshire, and the reason it's called Cheshire is because the demon took over her stuffed animal. Normally, demons have to go into human beings, but for whatever reason, her demon managed to go into her little cat stuffed animal named Cheshire, and so that's why she calls the demon Cheshire throughout the entirety of the game. As you play, both Bayonetta and Cheshire have their own skill trees. Now, they're very simple. I think there's 8 or 9 upgrades total for the two characters throughout the course of the game. So there's very simple RPG elements, but they are there. So what I was talking about earlier, the music and rhythm stuff, that's called her Witch Pulse. And the Witch Pulse in this game, it actually took me a while to figure out how to do it. So some of this early B-roll, I kind of fumble around with it a little bit. But it's basically just this circle that appears, and you need to tap the stick in the direction on time with the orb that spins around the circle. And then really it's context sensitive. Like her witch pulse, you never really know what it's going to do because it could do so many different things. Now, here's an example of a puzzle. So your beast, Cheshire, cannot go through that section down below where there's that gas. So you run Bayonetta through it on her own, you separate the two, then you send him around. He's the only one who can break down these barriers. So she does her thing, she goes through the gas, only she can go through. He does his thing, he goes through, he breaks down all the barriers, and then they come back together. And this type of aesthetic carries the entire game. That's how it works. And like the two can only get so far apart, and that's like one of the parameters you have to work around. You can call them back together at any time. And that's really handy in combat because sometimes like you can get them separated. You have Bayonetta way over to the left side of the screen, and then the demon gets all the way to the right because he's attacking some enemy. You can just tap the L1 button and they'll reform and come back together, and they call it carry mode because when they're together, she actually is just carrying her little doll around with her. And this just opens up myriad possibilities for puzzles inside this game. What do you think of the art style, Matt?
I like it okay.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. It's like some scenes look good, some scenes it's really hard to tell what the hell's going on. Mm. It all kind of bleeds together. It's hard to figure out, like, is this something that I can run on or I can jump on, or is it just something in the background that I can see when and there's no, like, the depth perception can be difficult in this at times, the way the art is. Let's see. Yeah. As you play, you collect, like, vitality petals. That increases, like, Cereza's maximum health. There's these other flowers that you collect that build up her maximum magic meter. Basically, once you're into this Forbidden Forest, it's all run by fairies. And it's weird to play a game where the fairies are bad guys. I don't know if I've ever... Usually they're the good guys that you're fighting on your side, but in this one, they're the bad guys.
Not in folklore.
Yeah. No, that's true, though. You're right. Generally, in folklore, fairies are evil creatures. And in this, they are as well. But I was just pleasantly surprised by this. I get totally hooked on this game. I've now played it for probably 10 hours, and I'm not even halfway through the game. It's very easy to tell because at a certain point, they give you 4 very specific objectives to accomplish, and I've only accomplished like 2 of them at this point. So best case scenario, I'm halfway through the game, and I've already played like 10 hours. So it's a pretty beefy game. Now, the catch here, Matt, this game is $60.
Oh, I didn't expect that.
That's insane.
I was thinking this was going to be a 30.
Mm-hmm. And that's the big barrier. I would never, ever recommend that somebody spends $60 on this game. Because, let's be honest, this is an indie game that Platinum was making, and they slapped Bayonetta into the game and was like, okay, maybe now it will sell. The truth of the matter is, it should sell all on its own because it's awesome. I cannot believe that... You're right, I slagged this game when we first saw it. I was like, what the hell is that? And to a certain extent, I was kind of right. It was like a little indie game with Bayonetta slapped on it, which was one of the big criticisms that I gave it. As it turns out, that is the case. But the creativity that went into I can't believe this is a Platinum game, first of all. They've never made anything like this. So I don't know if it's like they're young guys at their studio. They're like, we have a concept for this. And they're like, well, we'll give you 10 dudes and 12 months. See what you come up with. And this is what they came up. I'm not sure how it worked that this became one of Platinum's games. But as you can see, as you start to play, the enemies they change. So before, this guy didn't have a shield. Now he does. So now you have to approach him from behind when you try to attack him. But you can see here, so Bayonetta, she'll trap with her vines. Then you bring over the demon, and then you can attack the guy once he's trapped by the vines. And that's kind of how all the combat plays out in this. And again, as you play through it, you can level up both Bayonetta and the demon. And the demon will get, like, finishers. He'll get, like, pounce attacks, like, stuff that's like dependent on, okay, if Bayonetta has the enemy held down with her vines, then that opens up a whole other list of abilities for the demon. And so again, at first when I started playing this, like it was literally like trying to like tap the top of your head and like rub your belly at the same time. Like your brain is just like, no, you're not going to do that. And after a couple hours, like it got to the point where I was like a master of being able to control 2 characters at one time. Like in real time, while both of them are in like a fight or in a skirmish, or in some cases, like it gets to the point where you have to platform with both of them at the same time. And when that first popped up for me, I was like, oh, hell no. I'm like, nobody's going to be able to do this. And within 2 tries, I beat it. Like, it is really crazy how this game trains your brain to be able to play it. Like, I went and just like started skimming some of the reviews, and like the reviews on this are like either it's a perfect 10 or it's a 5. And generally, whether someone thinks it's like one of the best games they've played this year or they think it's trash is whether their brain was able to get over like controlling two things at once. So if you read the high score reviews, they're like, oh my God, they're like me. They're like, oh, at first it was a challenge, and then I realized, oh my God, this is brilliantly training me to use both sides of my brain at once. And if you go read the reviews of the people who are like, this game sucks, they're like, they tried to make me do two things at once, and I was not going to do that. So this game isn't for everyone. Like if you like traditional games and you don't like to challenge yourself with new control schemes or just challenge your brain to like exercise itself in new ways, this game will drive you crazy. It really will. And even after I had played it for 10 hours, I would still every once in a while find my brain being like, nuh-uh, like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, it got better over time, but there were still some instances where my brain was still like, no, I don't think that's what you want me to do. And I'm like, yes, that's absolutely what I want you to do. So it was fun for me as someone who's played a megaton of games through the years, and has kind of, honestly struggled to find new ideas and new concepts to find something like this just out of the blue. Like, Nintendo sent me a code for this. I wasn't even going to, like, download it at first. But then I was like, well, there's really nothing coming out this week. Maybe it's good enough that I could talk about it on GameFace. And within, like, 2 or 3 hours, I was like, oh, my gosh. Like, I can't believe I was going to just ignore this game. So, very pleasantly surprised by this. Do you have any questions about it, Matt?
Not really. I mean, it seems fairly straightforward after, like, your description, I would say.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just going to wait until it's $30.
Yeah. Are you interested in playing it?
Somewhat. I mean, not more than I am like Resident Evil 4 or some of the other stuff coming out in the next couple months, but it does seem like something I might be interested in revisiting once, like, another doldrum hits.
It is ludicrous to ask $60 for this game, by the way. I mean, completely ludicrous. Nintendo's publishing this, by the way. This was developed by Platinum.
So it's never going on sale.
Right. That's what I'm getting at. Like, if you're going to wait for it to go on sale, you're probably going to be waiting for a really long time. And the art in the game, it's hit or miss. Like, sometimes it's just really garish. Like, the demon. Like, the other thing, too, and you may be noticing the demon looks different now. The demon has different forms. So, the right face buttons on the right side of the controller, you can tap those and automatically go into his new form. Like, the first new form that you get is he's wooden. And that allows him to... He was kind of peeling off those pea pods and, like, pulling on, like, doorknobs and ripping doors open. Like, those are the abilities that you get when you get the wood form. And so he ends up getting several different forms that you can swap through. And it's on a cooldown, so you can't just leave him in wood form. Like, he only lasts for so long. And then you have to go back to the carry form where you're actually holding the doll. And then it'll recharge his wooden abilities, and you can then deploy him again as a wooden. Now, if you use him as his default state, you can use him as long as you want. It's only when he goes into his alternate states that they're on a cooldown, and it only lasts for so long. And that's for the puzzle solving, because they gave it to you forever. Like, it would make the game way too easy. So, yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised by this game. Vincent says, why do you complain that nothing is innovative, and then when something is innovative, complain it's indie-like and not worth full price? I don't know what you mean.
I mean, I know what you mean.
Like, what he means?
Yeah, if it's as innovative as you say, why wouldn't it be worth paying that extra full price for something that really did finally think outside of the box in a way that other games don't?
Because it falls short in a bunch of other ways, like its presentation values. If this had the presentation values of a God of War, or they put a big budget behind it, yeah, it would be worth $60. This is an indie game that had a cute idea. So I guess if you look at it that way, you're just saying anything that's interesting deserves X amount of dollars regardless of how much effort went into it. I guess that I don't prescribe to that perspective. So
you don't think the innovation level on this
is worth $60? No.
Is worth $60 given the execution in play?
Right. Given the other shortcomings, it's not. No. Now, if this game didn't have the innovative mechanics in it, I wouldn't say it was worth even like $30.
Well, I imagine you wouldn't even be talking about it right now.
I wouldn't. So, yeah, I mean, if these ideas, like if my animal fighting game ever came to be, and I got like $100 million budget for it, and it had all the production values of big budget games, and it had ideas like this that were executed like this, yeah, it would be worth $60. But it's not. They didn't. Like, they did not have the Bayonetta team working on this. Like, this is their little side team. And to me,
is it because their side team sucks?
Well,
Maybe
one
this
of them
is somebody
does.
else.
One of them does. Their C team definitely sucks, that's for sure, as we saw with some of their recent games that they've released. But yeah, this game, so I've played this game for 10 hours. I'm about halfway through it. I don't know if it's 20 hours long. I'm guessing it's probably a little less than that, roughly. So the playtime is fine. I think for a $60 game, probably the playtime is fine. The other thing I would say, too, is they do mix things up a little bit with the different types of the demon eventually.
Just over 10 hours to complete.
Oh.
Although 19 hours if you do everything.
Oh, okay. I mean, that doesn't seem right, honestly. Because, again, I've accomplished 2 of the 4 big objectives in the game, and I've already played it for almost 10 hours.
How long to beat says the main story is 13 and a half hours.
There you go.
Main plus sides, 19 hours. Completionist, no entry yet.
Yeah. So the game length, little short for $60, but that's not my big complaint. My big complaint is that they've just cut corners with presentation in other parts of the game. Like, I don't know if you saw in the B-roll at the beginning.
Bayonetta is 8 feet tall. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I had no idea. Interesting.
I mean, it's hard to tell how tall anybody is in those games.
As you can see here, there's also crafting. So when you get to a save point, you can save, you can craft, and then you can also choose to play through like these horde mode things. So there's like horde mode sections in the game where you go into an arena, they close the door, you're trapped, and then they just flood it with enemies, and you need to beat all the enemies. Well, you play those in the campaign, and then after you've played through them in the campaign, when you get to a save point, you can choose to replay them to try to better your time and get better times. So the save points in this aren't just about saving. You can save, but also there's these other options. You can craft there, and it does kind of suck that you can't craft until you get to a save point, admittedly. But you can do that, and you can replay kind of these horde mode, these little challenges that you play through the campaign, but they're identical to what you just played in the campaign. So I tried it once to just try it for the purposes of evaluating the game and never really tried it again. I can see where maybe some people might... I didn't see any online leaderboards either, where you could see like, oh, one of my friends completed this challenge in 50 seconds. And so now I want to beat... Like, I didn't see any of that in the game. And my Switch was connected to the internet. So here's one of the first examples of, okay, you have to control the guy on the right with the right analog stick, and then your character on the left with the other analog stick, and go through this gauntlet of platforms. There's even jumping in this one. This is just running on platforms with the 2 at the same time. Later on, you get to the point where you have to platform and jump with both of the characters at the same time and navigate enemies and things like that. So again, incredibly innovative, some new ideas, some new concepts. Worth $60? No. I don't know if you noticed at the B-roll at the beginning, the way the story is told in this is just like stills. There is a lot of voice acting, I'll say that much. They do voice most of the quote-unquote cinematics. But they're boring and dull, and they're dragged out. Like, they take like 5 screens to say something they could have said in 1 screen. Typical games that are targeted at a younger audience. They try to make it more obvious.
Very Fire Emblem Engage.
Yeah. It doesn't work so much for adults from that perspective. But again, the story in this isn't really the highlight. The highlight of this is what you're seeing right now. Like, playing as 2 characters at the same time. And it does take some getting used to. It takes a while before you can get used to it. But I've had a blast. But to Vincent's point, like, it's not a AAA game or a big budget game. It's an indie game with a cool concept that is mostly explored. So what I was getting at earlier, too, is that after a while, they do kind of run out of concepts. As far as like puzzle types and ways to use the 2 characters, they do mix it up by giving you the different types for the demon, like the wood type and all the different transformations that you have. But for the most part, they do kind of squeeze the puzzle ideas pretty dry after like the first 5 or 6 hours, and it does get a little bit repetitive after that. But, you know, I would not spend $60 on this game. If you could find it one day for like $30, I think that's probably the sweet spot for it.
But it sounds like you're going to spend $60
probably
on the game.
Yeah.
Because it's Nintendo.
Which means it's like a non-starter. Like, I don't understand it. Like, why they would do that. It's not... The outlay, the cash outlay to develop this game is not $60. Like, you don't need to sell it for $60. You shouldn't have to make it a profitable game because you spent so much less developing the game. So it's a tough. Again, Nintendo sent me a code for this. Would I be pissed off if I had paid for it? Yeah. If I had spent $60 on this, I'd be pissed off. Because you can just tell there's not $60 worth of work in this game. So again, I think $30 is the sweet spot. It is a Nintendo published game. It hardly ever drops the price of the games it publishes. So I don't know. I feel like the game's going to just be kind of left in limbo. Maybe future they do some big eShop sale where you can get a little cheaper maybe. But I would say, like, keep an eye on it. Like, in the coming, like, years, and it may take years before it drops in price, but in the coming, like, year, 18 months or whatever, anytime Nintendo has any kind of an eShop sale, make sure that's one of the games you go and check out and see if they've actually dropped it.
They do drop stuff if it bombs.
Yeah.
And if it's
it might bomb.
And if it's not one of their core, like, you're still, I mean, all the Mario games on the Wii U are still full price.
Yeah.
But, like, some of the Kirby stuff is cheaper.
Right. Yeah.
It depends.
So there's a possibility, and I do predict that this game is going to bomb. Like, there's... Just looking at it, I think it's a hard sell at $60.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I also can't... I can't even remember the name of it half the time.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bayonetta Origins is its name. I just completely forget the subtitle, because it's weird. She's not named Bayonetta in the game. She's called Cereza.
Well, it's how she becomes
right.
Bayonetta.
That's what the game's about. How she
has to become
Bayonetta.
the Tomb Raider.
Right. Yeah. But it is a little odd that she's not actually
She
Bayonetta.
grows 3 feet by the end of the game.
She's going to have to grow more than that. She's damn short in this game. But anyway, there you go. That's Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon. Cool game, fun game, innovative game, but not worth $60. All right. That takes us to our last topic for GameFace 335. And this is a game that Matt has played this week on his brand spanking new PlayStation VR2. It is the Dark Pictures Switchback VR. A follow-up to, what was the PlayStation VR 1 game called?
Until Dawn, Rush of Blood.
Rush of Blood. This game...
Which was pretty obviously just something else with the Until Dawn name slapped onto it.
Well, this game is the same. It's a VR roller coaster ride shooter. Mm-hmm. But instead of focusing on one of Supermassive Games, it goes through all of their games. It's like an all-star ride through all of their...
It's called an asset reuse, is what it is. So I was looking forward to this one because I liked Rush of Blood a lot. It was an effective use of the VR. It was like a fast-paced like shooter thing. It was a good use of the Move controllers. It was like it was effective. They made it into something interesting. This game sucks. I am very disappointed in this thing.
Really?
It
sucks.
It's awful.
So it was delayed last minute.
Yeah,
which was maybe a slight red flag.
I don't know what would have delayed it 2 weeks or whatever.
For it to come out now and still be in a sorry state.
Yeah, it's conceptually broken.
Oh.
First off, I don't know much about the Dark Pictures games. I've never played them. I know the guy in the hat is like kind of a through line sort of thing.
He's like the narrator. He's a through line through all.
Well, here's the thing. Like they also had like kind of the carnival guy in the first one that was sort of narrating, and the kind of the guy who was like your host, like kind of a carnival bar. It was leaning into the fact you're on a roller coaster, right? Mm-hmm. The guy in a hat in this, I'm sure he has a name. Is that the Man of Medan or what? Mm-hmm. Is that who? I
believe that is who it is.
Yeah. He never speaks in this ever. Like he just stands around. You see him in places. He'll stand and like he'll like stare at you like meaningfully and like
he's
that's
just trying to be creepy. I guess.
And that's kind of it. Like,
oh really?
They don't use the music from the games from the dark. They don't use the Dark Pictures theme that I could hear. There's
that's
some stuff
weird.
that's been in like there's like a wrecked boat with zombies. There's like things like but like. It's just not interesting. So the framing, the framing in the first one is a little bizarre. It's just like, okay, you're just in a carnival ride that like has stuff from Until Dawn in it, and like, okay, sure,
that's good enough. That's all.
This one, like, so you start in a train. You're on a passenger train. And I guess you're going to your father's funeral or something, and you're going to see your sister you haven't seen in forever or something. And then the train jolts weirdly, and everybody gets like, oh, and then the woman young woman walking past you, like trips because of the jolt and knocks your coffee over onto her and gets mad at you for that. And then like gets mad at the driver, like, what are you doing? And then the train crashes.
What?
And... so the game like you and then you from there you jump to the first sort of tutorial, like this part. This is where literally the train crashes and suddenly you're here.
Yeah. In the middle of the woods shooting skulls off a line.
In between in between levels, you'll go through into you'll end a level and go into a tunnel, and the tunnel is like a train tunnel, you can see it's like a subway or a train tunnel, and then you get like some hazy image of being trapped under wreckage in the flipped over train car, and the guy in the hat will appear and just sort of look at you sadly, and then it'll cut to a blurry version of you in the train car before the crash again. And then it'll go to the next level.
Yeah. And
that's all the context you have for what is happening. And you just go through these levels that are like, in the Rush of Blood, like they're pretty intense, and they're packed together, and they're done like kind of a cheap roller coaster, carnival thing, and it's just sort of one thing after another.
There's a lot of downtime.
These levels are long, and
there's nothing
happening.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And like this is just... It's like, oh, you're rolling in the first one. You're like, oh, you're rolling through like weird like chambers full of screaming pigs, and now you're going through like a nightmare version of like a butcher asylum thing. And this one's like, you're at the docks, and you're gonna very slowly roll through the docks.
It seemed like there was a lot of downtime,
and eventually there will be zombies. Not too many zombies.
Yeah.
Just some.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, I know we talked about how I don't get scared by games, but like, I was laughing at this so much, not because it's ridiculous. I meit doesn't look very good. It doesn't really look any better than the first one.
Yeah, it really doesn't.
And you can't see it in this B-roll, but it's really blurry. It is not.
I think you can see it in the B-roll,
but it's worse in the headset. It's not using foveated rendering. It's using eye tracking, but it's not using the eye tracking foveated rendering, and it's very odd. It feels like you're playing a PSVR 1 game.
How? Do you think that maybe they made the sequel for PlayStation VR 1?
That's possible, and they sort of up-resed it. So here's the first enemies you've seen. You've been playing this for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But you'll see here. The zombies kind of just sort of
mope over,
and like they'll like come up and like you won't see it, but like they'll come up like the ones on the sides are the ones you can't really see because they're to the side. But they don't hit you. They just sort of
wait there.
They lean their hands on the side of the car like they want to talk to the manager and like moan. And you look over and it's like they're politely waiting for you to notice. It's kind of
shoot their head off.
Almost adorable. Yeah. Like it's there you are. There they are. It's like okay, now it's your turn. All right, okay, Harry. Yeah. And there's a lot. There's a lot of. They actually hit you. Yeah. There's a lot of that in this game where it's just like everybody. It's like, you know how like you go through like a C tier like haunted house thing in Halloween, and like the kids dressed as the monsters jump out and you
catch the one guy putting out his cigarette.
But you're kind of no. It's more like they jump out and you're kind of like, oh, that's cute. You know, that's I like how hard he's working there.
Yeah.
It's like that. But it's like, here we are. We're still just slowly climbing. Yeah. And you see the weird thing to me is like the score thing there. You see, and you see the multiplier. Why did I say it like that? Multiplier next to it. So the multiplier, as multipliers tend to do in score-based games, counts down. Like it, if you don't shoot anything, it drops.
Yeah.
And so there's like, you're supposed
to. With all the dead time in this.
Well, you're supposed to shoot these like things hanging around.
Anything yellow, you shoot
anything.
It, right?
Well, not just yellow, anything, but the yellow gives you like an extra bonus thing. But like, you run out. It goes so slow and comes to a complete stop sometimes that you're just sitting there watching your multiplier drop.
Oh,
and
right.
You're out of things to shoot because you've shot everything you can see, and you're like, it's just going down now.
Yeah.
I don't know what. And it's weird and stop and go, and the boss battles are like just boring. Like they're all rule of 3 things where you have to do the thing 3 times, and it's really obvious, and nothing can really do much. Every once in a while, there's like an interesting thing. Like there's like one section in an early level where you end up in, if you pick, because you can pick left and right track choices, and that does change something vaguely for like a minute or whatever. It's like you go through one room or another. And there was like one thing where I went through like a house. And
lots of shooting boxes.
Yeah, a lot of boxes.
Lots of boxes to shoot.
A lot of boxes, a lot of deer heads.
Yeah. Those zombies didn't even make it to
you. No, they're late. They were supposed to be there like 2 minutes ago. They were going so slow, they thought they had time, and they didn't. It's just, here we are. And now, of course, here, you saw there, it's a 6-time multiplier. That's the maximum multiplier. And you're just sitting here.
Yeah, you're waiting for it to go down.
Just waiting for somebody to fucking do something.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Look
it
right.
Dropped down to 5.
Are you ready?
Like...
Oh, you're ready to shoot. Okay, there you go.
Wow.
When I played that, I didn't realize the guy was to my left for like almost 30 seconds, and finally I heard a moan. I'm like, oh, you! And I shot, and then everything caught fire. I'm like, oh, okay, that was what we were waiting for.
That's funny, because the original, the first game, was like one of the best PlayStation VR games.
It was great.
It was literally one of the best games on the platform.
Yeah. And it was like creepy and had some like real atmosphere, and it was like, it was good.
How did they screw it up?
So boring. This is so boring.
Because they had so much more to like work with.
But there's like moments where, like I said, there's a thing, and not this level, but a couple levels after, where you go through and like there's a house and it's full of like half-naked mannequin guys, and every time you physically blink, they move.
Wait, like the headset
detects your blinking.
Oh, really?
And they move, changes, and if you blink too many times, like one of them will be up there and attack you, and you have to shoot it.
That's kind of cool.
It is cool. It's very much based on it's similar to that other game that like does that with the memory thing. I can't remember the eyes. It's a game that's the whole mechanic, the core mechanic. Trouble is, the problem is like it's not something that happens as you kind of like continually go through the level. The rooms are gated because they have the mannequin things have to do the thing they're supposed to do. So at a certain point, like I'm going through and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to blink so I can get a drop on these guys. And then I realize I'm just stuck in this room until they do. So I had to just like blink a whole bunch of times to get them to fucking do something. It was ridiculous.
Oh man,
it's ridiculous.
Jeez, it's crazy that it's so bad. Like
I went through like most of it. I never even came close to dying, ever. Like
it seems like it's impossible.
It's very hard. You can get hit and like you get like kind of bloody. Honestly, the only times I really would take hits is the game has a hard time deciding whether you're ducking low enough or not if you're going under an obstacle.
Oh.
That's it. The enemies are not threats at all. And you can get like you can get upgrades. You get like shotguns and revolvers that do more things.
So you can get other guns?
There's other guns.
Like, machine guns?
Yeah, and you get like a thing on your wrist that shows you how many like reloads you have left. You usually get 4 reloads for a special weapon. Mm-hmm. There's a section where you can get like a blacklight thing, and you shine it on the wall, and you can see where you have to shoot in like blacklight glowing. And the annoying thing, of course, is if the blacklight runs out, you can't actually shoot the part that you know you're supposed to shoot because that black light has to be on it.
So you just have to fail it and try again?
No, usually they just drop another crate with the black light in it. You just pick that up and it's okay, there you go.
Oh, man.
But this is it. You're looking at the game here.
I mean, it's basically House of the Dead on
But like House of the Dead with like a third of the zombies.
Right.
Like there's no... It's just everyone.
It just looks so bad.
Nobody really seems like they want to be there, even the zombies.
And it's just I gotta go after him.
And like this is the thing, like one of the levels is just a foggy rural road. It's just a foggy road.
I'm sure it's tied into one of the one of the games.
At one point you like that gets really foggy, and then you see like people like shapes in the fog. And then, like, faceless versions of the townspeople start lunging at you, and you just start headshotting them until they all die. But there's a whole thing where you go through this whole thing. You're going to the Black Cat Saloon or something, and you go past, like you see it's all neon lit, and the car just sort of slowly stops in front of the saloon, which is like over to your right. And I'm like, okay, and then like the night gets darker. And you just hear people partying in the thing, and then everything goes dark except for the diner sign, and then the N and the R go like burn out, so it just says die, and then you just hear all these screaming, and I'm like, what is happening?
Oh,
and then
man.
and then the light comes back up on the street, and there's like 2 zombies in front of you, and I shot them and killed them both in one shot, and then the car sat there for another like 10 seconds and then started going forward.
What the hell?
And I'm like, what is this? Like,
I mean, Matt, I've played most of the Dark Pictures games, and I do not recognize anything in this.
No, I don't.
There's not a single thing I've seen that I'm like, oh yeah, that's from that one. Like,
it's very strange.
It is bizarre. How much was this game?
I think it was 40 or 40.
Okay. At least it wasn't like a full price game.
It was more than it should be, I'll tell you that much.
This isn't going to keep you putting on your PlayStation VR2, is it, Matt?
I stopped playing this game because I was so bored, I decided I should probably check my text messages. Like, that is how uninvolved
Find a new podcast to listen to.
Yeah. It's real bad.
Yeah. I'm surprised.
Which is, I was looking forward to. This was like my number 2 anticipated game of the.
And understandably, because the last one was good.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
but nothing it's not like the first one was a revolutionary change, but it was a constant thing. It was
the pacing was way better.
And you'd be done with it, and like you go to them, you're like, man, do I have it in me to do another level? Because that was kind of intense. And after this one, I was like, can we go, please? Like it was.
I went. It's so crazy, Matt. So I went on Metacritic.
I was like literally just sort of leaning back. I was leaning back on the couch and just sort of like boing boing. Like I was. I mean, I'm usually uninvolved when it comes to horror games because they don't bother me or affect me very much. But this one was just like, man, coming off the heels of talking about that last week, I'm like, there's some irony. Someone was fucking with me on this one because
I went to Metacritic and was reading just to check the score. And it's okay, but what really struck me was I went and read the reader reviews, and oh my god. Like, if you read the reader reviews, you would think this was the greatest game ever released, Matt.
That's crazy.
And honestly, I think a lot of it is people who've paid for PlayStation VR2 and are like, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I need good game. I need
look
to
at
rationalize.
It's like, oh, there's blood coming out of the coffin. Like, it's the imagery isn't even interesting. Like, the first one.
And some of those reviews are like, I was terrified.
That girl, that's the girl you spilled coffee on. Like, she's the main bad guy. She's so mad that you spilled coffee on her. I guess she becomes a demon or something. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
I swallow your soul.
Oh, and you periodically have to rescue people who, like, other passengers who are on the train, and if you do, they show up in the train scene between levels, and then like you get a little thing that like shows you like the track you've taken so far, and like you have the option to like replay and take other directions. I can't even imagine wanting to do that.
Some of the reviews were like, I was scared the whole time. I could only play it for like 20 minutes because it was scaring me so bad, and I'm just like, wait a minute.
If you're scared by this the whole time, you need to grow up. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, there's something wrong. Like, you probably need some kind of like aversion therapy.
The reviews were not kind to this, by the way. Like, the critic reviews,
it's awful.
The user reviews, I was like, wait, like
it's embarrassing. Like it's especially coming off the Quarry,
right?
Which is like this team. I mean, I don't know what team this was or how they were organized, or whatever, but this developer knows how to do horror. They know. I really think
that this was supposed to be a sequel for PlayStation VR 1.
It would explain some things. But it's not even as good as that. It's like I could accept that if it was just another experience that was like on par with Rush of Blood.
It didn't look as good as it should.
I could overlook that if it's a launch title kind of thing. Okay, it's like a cheapo, like, it's just a thing that they knew would work and work before, so just do it again, fine. But like, it's not even that. It's like, and you're sitting around like early on. There's a scene where you're in a bathroom, and you're like, oh, the doors are open. They're like banging open. You're like, oh, where are the zombies? And like, there are no zombies and they come over like they're walking across, like they're walking out of them in the mirror, and then they climb through the mirror. But you can just pop their heads as they like lean through the mirror. They don't even get near you. I don't understand it.
Oh man,
it's terrible.
Yeah. Well, that's a shame.
Oh, here's one of the people you have to rescue. So you have to hit these switches so the oil all hits the target at the same time, and that deactivates that, which apparently this guy failed. I don't know how you'd manage to fail that.
That looks so bad, Matt. I mean, that literally looks like PlayStation 2.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of stuff where it's like things happen and you're like, what is that? Something's pouring out. But what is it? Is it blood? Is it slime? Is it goo? Is it like ichor? Like, I don't know. Like, I can't tell. There's one of the every once in a while, even when they get a good image, you're like, it's like you go through this like covered bridge at one point and you look up. It's all dark except for the flashlights on your guns, and you look up. And it's like there's thousands of bats like roosting in the rafters, and you're like, "Oh, what's that gonna do?" And I shoot, to like startle the bats. 5 bats flew at me. 5. The others, it's like all the other bats were just like, "What? Do you mind?
You want me to fly over there?"
We're trying to sleep for some reason at night. We're nocturnal. Why are we all here? That doesn't even make any sense.
Oh man, we need to cover bad games more often on GameFace. It's like we're very picky. We only cover the games that you guys should probably be interested in.
It's awful. It's just. Like, I'm not saying it's the worst thing I've ever played, but it's just intensely disappointing.
Well, it's also on top of the fact that you've bought PlayStation VR 2. There's still no killer app for it.
And now I'm just waiting for something else, I guess.
Yeah, and that's going to be a while.
I mean, I'll go back and finish Horizon and the Star Wars game probably, but like,
what?
I can't even go back and play Rush of Blood 1,
right? Because it's not
to cleanse the palate because it doesn't work on this one.
Yeah. So there you go. That was supposed to be one of PlayStation VR2's higher profile games post-launch.
I mean, certainly there was reason to have
at least some level of excitement. Yeah. That was one of the few games I was able to play on PlayStation VR 1 without feeling like I was going to puke my guts out. So, yeah, that's a shame.
I think feeling nauseous would actually have made me feel something. So
there you go. That's a great way to end it. So anyway, there you go. That's the Dark Pictures Switchback VR. That's a huge.
It also doesn't make me want to play those games at all.
Right.
Like, I know it's not related.
Don't take that as like, The Quarry's really, really good. If you guys haven't played that yet, you can probably find it pretty cheap at this point. I highly recommend it. If you like slasher horror flicks, it's actually better than most of the slasher horror flicks that I've watched over the last
especially on top of like how good The Quarry looks. I mean,
technically and everything.
Yeah, like they can do better than this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there you go. Stay away. And at this point, we're just like, stay away from PlayStation VR 2.
Yeah,
I mean,
what else are you looking forward
to recommend that somebody spend the money on it. So I hope by this time next year, I have a different perspective.
Or maybe we'll see some future stuff. Soon. I don't know.
I hope. Otherwise,
I know they're supposed to have like 100 in the pipeline or something, but how many of those are going to be worth looking at?
They're in deep crap. So anyway. That's the latest game for PlayStation VR 2, and it's another stay away. All right. And with that, it's time for... It's time for Name That Game. But today is a special episode of Name That Game because one of your fellow sifters contacted me and was like, hey... I'd like to put together a collection of screenshots for one of the episodes of Name That Game. And I was like, absolutely. Because I'm obviously terrible at it, because you guys have guessed it on the first screenshot 3 weeks in a row now, or is it 4?
Several. At least 3.
We'll just say several. So I have been doing a terrible job.
There was a time when I got like 2 in a row.
Yeah. Right before that, you won like twice in a row. Yeah. So anyway, it's been a bumpy open for 2023 for Name That Game. We haven't had any good games. So I was like, absolutely. And that sifter is Slagathor. I don't know if he's on the chat today. Maybe he had to work and he couldn't make it. But he sent me 5 screenshots for a game, and those are the screenshots that we are using for Name That Game today. Now, a couple things before we get going. First of all, Name That Game, it's very simple. I show you 5 screenshots. You try to name the game before Matt. You're playing against Matt. If Matt names the game and I look over, I'll give you guys a beat or 2. If it pops up in chat and that beat or 2, you guys win. If not, Matt gets the victory. Now, if you win, you get a free game. Now, a couple things. First of all, if you have no interest in PC gaming, if you don't have a gaming PC, if you don't have a friend who plays PC games, don't play, because the code's just going to go to waste. So, look, the code's yours. You can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, I guess you could put it on Twitter or something.
Yeah, I mean, you could do whatever you want with it. If you want to give it away to somebody, that's totally cool. I'm just saying, if you're not going to use the code, don't play. Because there are people who will use a code and will play the games that we give out. Another thing, the chat is set to slow mode during Name That Game, which means you can only submit a message once every 60 seconds. So don't start just spamming game titles in the chat hoping that you guess it right, because you can only guess once every 60 seconds. Make your guesses count. And with that, I think we're ready to go. We'll see how this goes. Regardless, if you guys guessed it on the first screenshot, I still want to thank Slagathor for pitching in and trying to help to make the game better. So here we go. Here is the first image. Oh, I lost my cursor here. Here is the first image for Name That Game.
Kind of looks like Jet Force Gemini.
Not Jet Force Gemini. Luna Kyle, clumps in the litter. No. That was from Wampler.
It does look familiar.
Final Fantasy VIII, no. Bushido Blade, no. Dragon Age Inquisition, no. Star Wars Squadron, no. Tomb Raider 2, no. Winback, no. One That's Too Easy. Panzer Dragoon, no. Turok, no. GoldenEye, no. Shadow of the Colossus, no. Star Wars Shadow of the Empire. These are all good guesses, by the way. No. Demon Souls, no. Time Crisis, no. Any more guesses before we go on to the second one? Those were all great guesses, by the way. Most of them were. All right, here we go. We made it past the first image. You know what? I'm going to give myself a round of applause. Actually, Slagathor gets a round of applause for getting us past the first one. Rogue Squadron, no. That was from Aravis Jones. Okay, here comes image number 2. Tenchu 2, no. No guesses coming in through chat either. Resident Evil, no.
Extermination?
GoldenEye, no. Extermination, no. Tomb Raider 2, no. 1080 Snowboarding, no. That's a good guess. Metal Gear Solid, no. PSO, no. Metal Gear Solid, no. Metal Gear Solid 2, no.
Doesn't look like Metal Gear Solid.
Mission Impossible N64, no. Siphon Filter, no.
Siphon Filter's a good guess.
Tomorrow Never Dies, no. Perfect Dark Zero, no. Winback, no. Someone else guessed that. Looks like we're going to make it to image 3. 007 Nightfire, no, but that's a good guess.
The Thing?
SSX, no. The Thing, no. That's also a good guess, Matt. All right, we're going to image 3. Slagathor. Knocking it out of the park. Here we go. This should give it away. This should give it away.
Is that Perfect Dark?
Nope. It's not.
Hybrid Heaven.
No. Not a bad guess, though. Silent Hill 2, no. That's a good guess.
Nah, it doesn't look good enough to be Silent Hill.
I think you now know exactly what era the game is from.
For sure.
This screenshot definitely helps with that. Half-Life 2, no. Half-Life 1, no. Body Harvest, no.
No.
Where's Emperor Dread? I don't think he guessed it today. Half-Life, no. Code Veronica, no. Barbie Fashion Designer, no. Is a PSP game. It might be. I'm not sure if it was released for PSP or not, actually. Nightmare Creatures 2, no. Area 51, no. Wow, I really thought this one would give it away. I guess not. Okay. We're going on to the 4th screenshot. Wow. Went from 0 to 100 real quick. And here it is. I gave you a big hint there. Is that a new Pokemon? No, it is not.
Who is that Pokemon?
Is this the first time we ever gotten to 4? No, we've made it to the 5th screenshot before. We've made it all the way through before. No guesses. This screenshot had no guesses. E.T. No.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a winner. Cinetike got it. It is Tomb Raider 3. Good job. Someone kept guessing Tomb Raider 2. In fact, they guessed it once. And then the second time they guessed it, they said Tomb Raider 2 with a question mark. And I was like, no. Close, but not quite. It is Tomb Raider 3. And here is the final screenshot that we didn't get to. Bats, Matt, as you were just talking about. And
more bats than I was attacked by.
And then in the lower left there's Lara Croft's head. And I thought that would have given it away. Barry Lomax says, what happens if no one ever got it? Well, nobody would win, and we just play next week.
I don't think that's ever happened.
It hasn't. Yeah, we've never had nobody get it. But also, let's give a round of applause for Slagathor, because he got us all the way to the 4th image. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I did play Tomb Raider 3, but for like 5 minutes.
Most people didn't. I'll be honest with you, I almost didn't use it. Because when you get to for example, someone was guessing Tomb Raider 2. And it's like, it's not, but it kind of is. You feel bad. I try to pick things that are more definitive, but still, it was all fair, all square, and Cinetike won. So great job, Cinetike. That was a great game, by the way. You guys that's the most guesses we've had in a long time for Name That Game. But it was Tomb Raider 3, and that is all courtesy of Slagathor. So thank you, Cinetike. You are our winner. You can send us a DM here on Twitch. You can send me a DM on Twitter at Dinfire. You can send Sifted a DM at Sifted Games on Twitter, or you can send me a direct message on Sifted at Shane, and we'll get your game out to you. Congratulations once again. All right, that opens things up for some Q&A. We have some time, a little bit of time. We can answer at least a couple questions if you guys have them. Too Quick Capri, were those images upscaled? Okay, I'm glad you asked that, actually, because that was another reason why I almost didn't use it, because it was from the definitive edition of Tomb Raider 3. So when I got it in the email, I was like, oh no, that's not going to work, because it won't look like Tomb Raider 3, because it'll look too good. And as it turns out, once I looked at screenshots, I was like, no, that's totally Tomb Raider 3.
They don't look that good.
Yeah. So to answer your question, yeah, it was upscaled, but still, I think it was a fair game. At least I think so. El Guapo 3385. I recently heard news about the completionist purchasing all 3rd and Wii U games from the eShop. What does that mean?
This is a guy. A couple people actually bought
Does that mean 3DS?
No, third party.
Oh, third party.
He bought everything on the Wii U shop.
Oh, he bought everything
for preservation.
Oh, for
which
preservation.
Is not. I mean, almost everything in that game is already.
He has no question. It was a noble act, but it must have been a lot of work. Yeah. Okay. Mellow Pintor, the game was
a lot of work. It's just a lot of money for no good reason, really.
Mellow Pintor, the game was re-released on PSP later on, so I was like 15% right. I'm going to demand 15% of the game. I said that I think it may have been released for PSP. So no game for you. No 15% of game for you. Yeah, Cinetite, congratulations, man. Minority Game, should actors that are above 50 record goodbye lines for scenarios when an actor unfortunately passes away? Interesting.
A little morbid.
A little morbid, but... So I noticed actually at the Oscars that they forgot a bunch of people who had passed.
Yeah, they always do.
And some pretty prominent people.
I'm surprised they left out Anne Hesh.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. That's crazy.
There's a couple. I mean, I'm not surprised they left out Kevin Conroy, but they should not have left out Kevin
that's a big
Conroy.
omission.
Well, he's only done one movie, really.
Yeah.
But he was Batman in the best Batman movie.
Right. Yeah.
So
I'm surprised. There's several. Like I saw a post on social media. There's like 5 or 6 people that I knew who they were that weren't in there. And meanwhile, there were people in it that I didn't know who they were that made the cut for being in the show.
Well, obviously a lot of the people that are like producers and costume designers you're not going to know, but like people in the industry are going to know. It's just weird. Some of it, no one really has ever understood what determines who gets in or out of that montage.
Yeah.
There used to be an earlier cutoff date between, so someone who died like a month and a half ago wouldn't make it, and everybody would be like, where are they? It's like, well, so they don't do that anymore, but like, then they're like, oh, Tom Sizemore's not, but Tom Sizemore died like a week before that, so that might have actually been the cutoff date. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
But there are a bunch of weird omissions in that, but there always are.
This year it seemed more so than prior years.
Yeah, somewhat. I don't know. I also hated the presentation on that. I hated the depth of field thing.
Yeah, it was weird.
Because, like, it starts with one in focus and the other out of focus, and then while the one is in focus, the first one, my brain is just trying to figure out what the other one is.
Me too.
And I'm like, I'm not paying attention to the first person.
I did the same thing.
And I'm like, what a terrible, terrible way to do that.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I generally am not a fan of a live performer playing the music for the In Memoriam segment, but I thought Lenny Kravitz is the first time it really worked.
Yeah, I had no problem with him at all. Drifter J, what type of game sequel? Let me bring up chat on the screen here so you guys can all see it. What type of game sequel do you prefer? Something like Final Fantasy, where each game is standalone experience? Do you want existing characters to have new challenges, or do you like one story that is told over a trilogy? It's a good question.
Depends if you have an idea for the story or not. I mean, it doesn't help Final Fantasy to be a standalone experience because they so rarely have a good idea.
I'll be honest, I prefer stories that continue.
I think continuing stories are generally better, but also like there gotta be a reason for the story. You can't just keep going and going and going and have no point to what you're Uncharted for, and and if you are going to do that, you should probably have something for the returning characters to do Uncharted 4, and not just drag in some new character that the story is really about, but you sort of sneak it in under the banner of the other characters people care about to try and get people to buy it. Uncharted 4. I do think having a standalone, if you're doing kind of an anthology thing, it can work. I mean, obviously the Dark Pictures has made a decent, series out of that. At the same time, starting over in the same universe can be a big pitfall, Mass Effect Andromeda, if you don't do it right. I don't know. I
think if you're smart, you can use cliffhangers to drag people along.
My thing for story, you just got to have a reason to tell the story.
Yeah.
There's got to be a reason we're here.
Yeah.
It can't just be, we got to do another one, so let's go through the motions, because that's how you end up with, frankly, that's how you end up with Tomb Raider 3.
Yeah, that's a good point. Swan Senpai.
I defy you to tell me what the story of Tomb Raider 3 is.
Swan Senpai. He or she asks, see, I got it right this week. You never know. I see you mentioned games coming out in bad months, but does it matter? I know Zelda is out in May, but is it the same market for people who want System Shock? There are millions of people who like different games.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah.
But there are certain games in certain genres that more people like than others. And so when we say that, we're saying basically, in short form, there's other games that a lot of people are going to be interested in that month. It may be a bad month. Look,
it makes it hard to cut through the noise.
Yeah.
Like basically, like even if there are people who care about System Shock and don't know about the System Shock remake and would be interested, who aren't playing Zelda, in May it's going to be hard for them to hear about System Shock because so much volume of game discussion on every social media site is going to be Zelda focused.
Yeah. I would also argue, too, that the majority of people who play games are open to playing all kinds of games. They're not all... I mean, actually, truth be told, the vast majority are just playing Call of Duty. So technically my statement is incorrect because a lot of the people who play Call of Duty, they only play Call of Duty.
Yeah.
But if you take the other non-COD maniacs, like, most of those people are open to playing all types of games. So I don't want to just pigeonhole them and say, oh, well, you know, they're not going to like this other game this month. Like, I assume that some people will like that other game, and we'll have to make some tough decisions depending on what money they have.
And you're less likely to have Game Press cover it. It's just, you know, Zelda's just going to occupy the entire industry for a week or two. Yeah. Minimum.
I mean, not even already. Social media, everything.
And then you're going to roll right into Diablo. Yeah. And there's another thing coming out in June that's important, too, that I can't remember now.
Oh, it's Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, Matt.
Oh, no, that's next year.
I'm kidding.
Was that the other thing I'm thinking of? Isn't there something late in June?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Was that Suicide? Am I just?
It was supposed to be.
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of Suicide Squad. I thought there was something else in June in addition to the Diablo. Maybe it was Suicide.
I mean,
Squad.
there probably will be, or there is, but I can't think of it right now.
Oh, Final Fantasy 16. That's right. Yeah. Final Fantasy 16 and Street Fighter 6. That's right, Vincent.
Yeah, it'll be a pretty good month for June. Plus with E3. Hopefully with some news coming out of that, although not as much as normal.
Well, E3 doesn't give us anything to play.
Right.
But
sometimes they put out demos. Not as often as they should.
Not this year, Shane.
We'll see. It's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. Okay, well, that's it for GameFace episode 335. Thanks to everybody who is on the stream and in our chat. You guys make the show better each and every week. We really appreciate it. If you're watching this show on YouTube or you're listening to it on podcast services for free, we'd really appreciate it if you could head to patreon.com/sifted and check out our Patreon and give us a pledge if you think we're worthy. You can pledge $1, $100 a month, whatever you can afford, whatever you want. We appreciate every patron, and we appreciate every single dollar. And you want to know who we also appreciate? We appreciate LS Cream because they're a sponsor. And again, for us, sponsors make a world of difference. We appreciate them very much. And best of all, they make an amazing product that both Matt and I absolutely love. It's really nice to have a sponsor that you can support. And that is the situation that we found ourselves in with LS Cream. Go to creamls.com. You can learn about the product, how it was made. It comes from a recipe from Haiti, from his family. And again, it is made and produced and distributed and sold by a sifter, a fellow gamer. Go out and support them whenever you can. So thanks again to everybody who showed up for today's show. Thanks to Matt. We appreciate all you guys, and we'll see you next Tuesday. GameFace is up and out.